Chapter 1897, Fierce Battle. Jian Wushuang, your opponent is us. There was a sudden roar and there were three figures that blocked Jian Wushuang simultaneously. The three of them were Palace Master Wu Luo, who was in a green robe and holding a hammer, number 1 Diving King, who was a brawny middle-aged man in crimson armor and holding a crimson saber, and Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church, who was malicious-looking. The three peak emperor gods blocked Jian Wushuang. The last time I fought with you, I did suffer a minor loss. This time, I'm going to take it back. Palace Master Wu Luo looked with a cold glare. I heard of Sword Emperor's name long ago. It's my honor to finally see the number 1 genius of eternal chaotic world today, number 1 Divine King said in a deep voice. Hee, you're only a real god, but you made the three of us who are peak emperor gods team up. Sword Emperor, even if you die, you will die with pride, the master of real martial art Divine Church smiled maliciously. Humph, so what if there are 3 peak emperor gods? If you want to fight, come on. Let's do it. Jian Wushuang sounded furious. Under the churning bloodline aura, he was like death. His huge body took a leap and appeared before the 3 peak emperor gods. To fight against 3 people alone and 3 peak emperor gods, Jian Wushuang showed no fear. Swoosh! 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 There were 4 resplendent golden lights that flashed and appeared in front of Palace Master Wu Luo directly. This again. Palace Master Wu Luo's face grew in distress. In the previous battle, he had been in a miserable situation because of the 4 Hongjun golden sword. Then, as they were fighting, Jian Wushuang continued to aim the 4 Hongjun golden swords at him. Go away! Palace Master Wu Luo roared and he swung the hammer in his hand. Just as Palace Master Wu Luo moved, number 1 Divine King and the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church by his sides immediately attacked. Humph! Number 1 Divine King humphed and his body suddenly increased in size by 100 times. A pair of cold eyes stared like 2 suns as boundless crimson fog swept out from his body. He held his saber with one hand and the crimson saber was infinitely magnifying in his hand as well. Suddenly, there was a towering crimson saber shadow. The layer of saber shadows overlapped as though it was going to slash the universe into half. Quang! The saber light descended. Jian Wushuang could only feel the saber intention that was pressing on him from all directions. The power of the saber intention was rare. Ha, come on! Jian Wushuang laughed hysterically. Among his 14 arms, there were 6 that wielded a sword at that very moment. Virum. Sword intention swept out along with boundless divine power. Reincarnation sword principle, the 6th move. 6 arms wielded the swords at the same time. There was a total of 6 sword lights. Every sword light was reincarnation sword principle that Jian Wushuang performed with his all. One should know that reincarnation sword principle that Jian Wushuang had invented was only 6 moves. The power of the 6th move was extremely powerful and it took quite a lot of divine power to perform it. But in the fierce battle at such a level, Jian Wushuang, who was an inverse cultivator, his magnificent divine power was on display. Reincarnation sword principle, the 6th move, his 6 arms performed it all together and performed a total of 6 moves at the first instant. Bang! There was a loud bang and there was a towering saber shadow that pressed over and immediately collapsed. However, the power of the collision had yet to disperse and Jian Wushuang suddenly felt a bolt of destroying power spreading from above. He looked into the void above him and there was a malicious-looking elderly standing there with a cold gaze while he pressed his hand down. Rumble. A huge palm print brought about boundless power. Suddenly, it was as though the entire universe had pressed down at Jian Wushuang. Break! There was a burst of sharp light in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Instantly, the sky above suddenly cracked and there was a huge crack. In the crack, there was sacred thunder gathering and there were bolts of life-destroying power that swept out. Then, walala! Life-destroying sacred thunder filled the air. There was a total of more than 1,000 life-destroying sacred thunder. At that moment, they merged together and hit the huge palm print. Along with a ferocious bang, all living things in the universe went quiet. Jian Wushuang, who was right in the middle of the band, number 1 divine king and master of real martial art divine church, weren't affected at all. There was a boundless collision of power, but the three of them fought together like lightning. Jian Wushuang's 14 arms wielded a sword each, and there was soaring sword intention. He put his improvement in comprehension towards sword principle at Emperor's Sword Palace B in full play. Relying on his powerful strength, he fought in close combat with number 1 divine king and the master of real martial art divine church. On the other side, he was still controlling the 4 Hong Jun golden swords as they suppressed palace master Wu Luo so that he didn't have the bandwidth to get involved with the other fights. The experts from both campsites started fighting too. Once they fought, they were in a ferocious fight. Fierce fight. It was a fierce fight that was worthy for the entire eternal chaotic world to watch. Including the Dao soldiers, there were more than 100 of them who possessed fighting power of an almighty that partook in the war. Just then, in the nearby void around the fierce fights, there were a large number of experts watching the war closely. Fought, the two campsites finally fought. They are fighting such a ferocious fight. Nonsense. There are more than 100 almighties that fought at the same time. How could it not be ferocious? Such a great war, it's hard to come by in the second era. I remember the last ferocious war happened many years ago. Then, there were forces and experts besieging the Master of Star Palace. In the end, the Master of Star Palace massacred them all alone. It's a pity that although the power that Lineage of Star possesses is strong, they didn't have terrifying techniques like the Master of Star Palace after all. It would be unrealistic if they wanted to match evenly with Star Extermination Alliance. The experts who were watching the war sighed emotionally. They could see the situation before them. Among the two campsites, Star Extermination Alliance obviously had the upper hand. There was a huge difference in the team formation of both parties. In terms of Sir Gods, although Lineage of Star had 30 Dao soldiers, at least 2 Dao soldiers would be required to just about match evenly with an ordinary Sir God. Accumulatively, Lineage of Star had over 30 fighting powers of Sir God, which was only half of Star Extermination Alliance's amount. In terms of the fighting power of Emperor Gods, they were far apart too. The 10 Emperor Gods from Star Extermination Alliance, forget about the 4 Peak Emperor Gods, there were another 6 of them while Lineage of Star only had 3 Emperor Gods besides Jian Wushuang. Such a vast difference in power led to the one-sided situation since the beginning of the war. Lineage of Star was suppressed entirely and there was almost no space for struggle. Although the battle had just started and Lineage of Star didn't suffer too much damage, in no time, there would be experts from Lineage of Star that passed away one after another. Utter defeat was only a matter of time. Chapter 1898 Retreat. Lineage of Star shouldn't have walked out of their own lair. If they were to stay in their lair, they might have been able to match evenly with Star Extermination Alliance via their formation. But now, Lineage of Star's action isn't very wise. From the looks of it, Lineage of Star is going to be defeated. It is definite that they are going to be defeated. However, Sword Emperor from Lineage of Star is really impressive. Sword Emperor, everyone who was watching the war focused their attention on the battlefield where Jian Wushuang and the other 3 Peak Emperor Gods were. When they saw Jian Wushuang and the other 3 Peak Emperor Gods in a fierce fight, it stirred up a great commotion in the expert's heart. With his power alone, he fought evenly with 3 Peak Emperor Gods. It seems that he doesn't have the lower hand much. Sword Emperor is very impressive. Palace Master Wu Luo, number 1 Divine King from Divine King Island and also the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church, their names are famous and they have many techniques and skills. However, even when the 3 of them team up, they can't take down Jian Wushuang. Just how does Jian Wushuang cultivate? Isn't his improvement speed too fast? Everyone was surprised. They could see clearly that Jian Wushuang was fighting against 3 alone and he didn't have the lower hand. Such battle outcome shocked everyone. One should know that, on Heaven and Earth's supreme ranking list, only Underworld God, who was widely known as the #1 Emperor God, had once fought evenly with 3 peak Emperor Gods alone. However, not only had Underworld God matched evenly with the 3 Emperor Gods, but he had also defeated them directly and even killed 2 out of 3 of them. Jian Wushuang might not be comparable with Underworld God. However, he was about there. On the battlefield, the 3 peak Emperor Gods from the enemy's side had teamed up but couldn't do anything to Jian Wushuang. The 3 peak Emperor God were furious. Don't waste any more time on him. Launch a full attack and kill him. If we don't take him down now, the 3 of our peak Emperor Gods' names will be ruined, #1 Divine King roared. Alright, the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church nodded heavily. As for Palace Master Wu Luo, he had the intention but not the will. He was fighting against Jian Wushuang's 4 Hongjun golden swords and he was already going all out. Die! #1 Divine King roared and he turned into a saber himself. A life-destroying saber that wanted to shake off the shackles of heaven and earth. The saber contained life-destroying aura that was enough to shock one's mind. As for the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church, he looked imposing and the aura that was soaring from his body was impressive. His eyes were like lightning. In one hand that he flipped open, there was boundless golden light flowing. Palm of Real Martial Arts. Hong! The sky broke and the earth split. A huge handprint which was extremely imposing descended from above from nowhere. Palm of Real Martial Arts was the strongest unique skill that the Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church had created. There were 2 terrifying attacks that flew at Jian Wushuang at the same time. Ha, come on! Jian Wushuang's eyes were bloodshot but there was no fear. The billowing divine power and bloodline power were flowing out in madness. Before everyone's gazes, one of his hands slowly extended. On one of his fingers, there was an intense black jade light. The black jade light seemed to light up the entire universe. Ancient God, the 8th finger. The universe finger. Hong! An ancient black jade finger suddenly attacked. Ancient God finger was the strongest move in terms of power in Ancient God unique skill. 9 fingers of Ancient God, each stronger than the last. Especially the last 3 fingers. Merely the 3rd finger, Vault of Heaven's finger, was already comparable with many unique skills that Emperor Gods had created. As for the 8th finger, one finger daunted the universe. The power was infinite. With one finger, the universe shook, heaven and earth broke apart. In an instant, it collided with the full hits launched by the 2 peak Emperor Gods. The terrifying power swept out. At that moment, all living things in the universe lost their colors. The bang that wasn't as loud as any of them had imagined. However, when they collided, there was instantly a merciless black hole that took form. The space black hole magnified infinitely to swallow up everything in the universe. The fierce divine power swept across wantonly. At the border of the battlefield, there were 4 Sur gods who were fighting ferociously and 2 Dao soldiers that were swept out. The 4 Sur gods got injured while the 2 Dao soldiers flew out. Swoosh! A figure flew across the sky like a shooting star. It flew about 10,000 miles until it finally stopped in the void. The figure belonged to Jian Wushuang. Although his face grew pale, his aura was still rather strong. Swoosh! 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 4 Hongjun golden swords had already returned to his side. In the void far ahead of him, the 3 peak Emperor Gods stood side by side and their faces looked cold. The 3 of them had already gone all out and they had even performed their strongest unique skill, but they merely had the upper hand by a slight bit. They weren't even enough to injure Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's strength surprised the 3 peak Emperor Gods. If we were to fight with him one-on-one, any one of us could only flee in a fix. When we met him, #1 Divine King couldn't help but say. Forget about fighting him alone, even if we were to team up in pairs, we wouldn't win against him, Palace Master Wu Luo said. If they only paired up, Jian Wushuang's 4 Hong Jun golden swords would be freed and then he could totally fight the two of them at the same time and he would definitely have the upper hand. However, the three of them made up a team of 3 peak emperor gods after all. Palace Master, we can't do this anymore. There was a sudden roar and Jian Wushuang's face changed as he looked around anxiously. Both campsites were fighting furiously. Although it was merely a short while, Star Extermination Alliance's advantage was magnified. Lineage of Star already looked like they were going to be defeated. Retreat. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang immediately commanded them to retreat while he tried his best to open up a route for escape in order to help the experts and Dao soldiers from Lineage of Star to flee. Retreat. Retreat. Everyone from Lineage of Star immediately started to retreat. Everyone was decisive to retreat. They didn't delay any further. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance saw and let out a chilly gleam in their eyes. Ha, you want to retreat now? It's too late. Die. Everyone, head into the lair of Lineage of Star and kill everyone in Lineage of Star. Kill everyone. Don't leave anyone behind. Die. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance started chasing after them under the lead of the 3 peak emperor gods. Jian Wushuang led the experts from Lineage of Star to retreat into Universe Galaxy. Star Extermination Alliance naturally chased after them. Hall Master Yuan, it's your call now, Jian Wushuang sent a message to Hall Master Yuan. Don't worry, let me take care of this. Hall Master Yuan's voice was solemn but he was confident. Chapter 1899, Show the White Feather Universe Galaxy was a treasure that Master of Star Palace had obtained from 7-Star Realm. Although Universe Galaxy was severely injured, it was an ancient treasure after all. Hall Master, who was Weapons Spirit of Universe Galaxy, immediately started to revolve Universe Galaxy when he received Jian Wushuang's message. Although the humongous Universe Galaxy gave people a mysterious feeling, it never once revealed its true power. But then, as Hall Master revolved it, Universe Galaxy immediately transformed into a huge formation. The formation was mysterious and instantly cut off the chase of the experts from Star Extermination Alliance. They were blocked outside of the galaxy. Swoosh! 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 Jian Wushuang and the others appeared in the depths of Universe Galaxy, next to Hall Master Yuan. Jian Wushuang's soul power spread out and he could see the scene outside of the galaxy. He could see that the experts from Star Extermination Alliance outside Universe Galaxy had already started to attack the formation of Universe Galaxy. Hong! 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 There were deep, loud bangs that resounded continuously. As the entire Universe Galaxy was under attack, it started shaking faintly. Hall Master Yuan, can you withstand the attack? Jian Wushuang looked at Hall Master Yuan. Palace Master, don't worry. Attacking at such a level is merely scratching my itch, Hall Master Yuan joked confidently. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows and said, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance are merely attacking in scatter. Universe Galaxy could withstand them easily. But if they were to concentrate their attacks together, such as all Almighties attacking one spot, then, Palace Master, just sit and watch me, Hall Master Yuan was very confident. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He naturally had never doubted Hall Master Yuan. At the border of Universe Galaxy, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance had originally wanted to barge into the depths of the galaxy and go right into the lair of Lineage of Star. However, just as they stepped foot into Universe Galaxy, they were blocked by the huge formation that was revolving. This formation is so powerful. I attacked personally but I didn't even shake it. Palace Master Wu Luo creased his eyebrows slightly. Lineage of Star existed for so many years and the old monster Old Star Palace even had the secret skill of Star Palace. Of course, he would have some solid foundation. The formation should be their last reliance, the master of real martial arts Divine Church said. Humph, you want to rely on the formation to block all of us outside? You must be dreaming, Number 1 Divine King from Divine King Island humphed coldly. Everyone, let's work together. Let's attack one spot all together. I'd like to see if the formation can withstand the hit of all Almighties together. Okay. The surrounding people nodded simultaneously. Very soon, almost 70 Almighties in Star Extermination Alliance launched an attack together. The Almighties launched attack one after another. In an instant, there were attacks that were performed from each and every one of them. Then, they hit on the same spot of the formation. Hong! An unprecedented bang reverberated in the entire galaxy. The huge universe galaxy was hit by the terrifying attack and it started shaking vigorously. In Universe Galaxy, the experts from Lineage of Star were watching the scene outside the galaxy anxiously, especially the guest elders. They didn't know what other trump cards Lineage of Star hid up their sleeves. Hence, all of them were anxious. From what they could see, the formation should be Lineage of Star's final reliance. Once the formation shattered, Lineage of Star would be facing a massacre by Star Extermination Alliance. The experts who accepted their invitation not only wouldn't receive the secret skill of Star Palace, their lives might even be threatened. But Universe Galaxy was really strong. Hall Master Yuan's confidence didn't come from nowhere. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance worked together and attacked the same spot. Universe Galaxy received an unprecedentedly heavy hit. However, after quivering for a while, Universe Galaxy once again steadied itself. There was no damage or any sign of it collapsing. The experts from Star Extermination saw the scene and they were in disbelief. How is this possible? All of us attacked the same spot together and we didn't manage to break the formation. The formation is so strong. Palace Master Wu Luo, Number 1 Divine King, the master of real martial art Divine Chich's faces grew grave. In the galaxy. Blocked it. That's great. The guest elders from Lineage of Star were filled with excitement. Humph, like I said, unless a great emperor comes personally, no one can break the formation, Hall Master Yuan smiled coldly. He was the weapons spirit of Universe Galaxy and he naturally knew about Universe Galaxy the most. He knew clearly that although there were almost 70 Almighties that worked together to attack one spot together, the attacks of the Almighties were inconsistent with different strengths, as well as different characters. Hence, the power of the attack couldn't superpose flawlessly. In other words, the attack was messy and it couldn't concentrate. If the people of Star Extermination Alliance were to know a power superposition skill and combine all 70 Almighties' power together flawlessly, they might be able to pose a threat to Universe Galaxy. But as of now, Hall Master Yuan smirked. Jian Wushuang relaxed when he saw the scene in front of him. He turned around to look at everyone else and calculate the damage from the earlier fight. Lineage of Star had definitely had the lower hand in the fight earlier. Although the fight lasted for a very short time, there was one Sir God that had passed away. At the same time, there were a few Dao soldiers that were damaged. Besides, most of the people were injured. In short, it was a wretched sight. However, the outcome of the battle was exactly how Jian Wushuang wanted. Showed the white feather. He was showing the white feather. He wanted Star Extermination Alliance to think that Lineage of Star's fighting power was unworthy and only the formation was blocking them off. He wanted Star Extermination Alliance to take Lineage of Star lightly. Then, when Lineage of Star counter-attacked in full force, they could hit their vitals and hurt them badly. Hall Master Yuan only put the defense power of the formation on display. You only need to block the experts from Star Extermination Alliance outside the galaxy. Don't perform any attack techniques that Universe Galaxy has for now, Jian Wushuang commanded. I understood, Hall Master Yuan nodded. When Star Extermination Alliance reached Starland, they decided on the strategy. Then, everything was within the control of Lineage of Star. Now, Lineage of Star has to suffer for a while. However, the grievance can be wiped out very soon. Let the people from Star Extermination Alliance be smug with their success for a little longer, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Send a command down. From today onwards, no matter how Star Extermination Alliance taunts us, the experts from Lineage of Star won't take the challenge. Chapter 1900 Indestructible Galaxy Formation. Outside Universe Galaxy, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance were still trying to figure out a way to break the formation. No matter what tricks they pulled, even when the experts teamed up together, they couldn't move the formation even an inch. The formation was like an indestructible lofty mountain that blocked Star Extermination Alliance. In the vast void, the commanders of the 5 major forces gathered together again. Although the galaxy is strange, I never thought it could transform into such a powerful formation. We belittled Lineage of Star. I never knew Lineage of Star had such a trump card. The formation is so strong, we couldn't break it at all. What should we do? The few commanders looked distressed. They didn't know the galaxy in Lineage of Star contained such a powerful formation. With the hindrance of the formation, as long as the experts from Lineage of Star didn't come out recklessly, no matter how many experts from Star Extermination Alliance there were, they couldn't do anything about them. Emperor God Tianling, Palace Master Wu Lu suddenly turned to a young man with snow-white hair who never spoke. In the fight earlier, why didn't you attack? Palace Master questioned him. Number 1 Divine King, the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church and I already teamed up to suppress Jian Wushuang. If you join us and attack him with your all, the accumulation of our power could definitely kill Jian Wushuang. The moment we kill him, Lineage of Star will lose their final mainstay and they will definitely collapse. Number 1 Divine King, the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church and the Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion looked at Emperor God Tianling in dissatisfaction. When the experts from both campsites fought, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance attacked and most of them fought with their all but Emperor God Tianling. From the beginning until the end, Emperor God Tianling had been staying in the nearby void without moving an inch. Before the war ended and Lineage of Star returned to the galaxy, Emperor God Tianling had never fought. One should know that it was a great opportunity. If Emperor God Tianling were to seize the chance, they definitely could make Jian Wushuang die on the spot. Emperor God Tianling looked cold when he was being questioned by the others. 3 peak Emperor Gods teamed up and couldn't take down Jian Wushuang, who was only at real god level and had only been cultivating for less than 10,000 years. How dare you question me? Palace Master Wu Luo and the other 2 peak Emperor Gods were stunned. Emperor God Tianling, what do you mean? Palace Master Wu Luo said angrily. There's no issue. I only wanted to tell you that I disdain to besiege a real god with 3 other peak Emperor Gods. If I really want to attack, I will fight a fair battle with Jian Wushuang and kill him directly, Emperor God Tianling said. Hee, kill him directly. Palace Master Wu Luo lifted the corners of his lips as disdain filled his eyes. When the next opportunity comes, the 3 of us will stand by side and watch. We shall see how Emperor God Tianling kills Jian Wushuang alone. Number 1 Divine King and the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church sneered. They had tested Jian Wushuang's power personally. The 3 of them had teamed up and gone all out but they could barely suppress him. If they were to fight one-on-one, which of them would be Jian Wushuang's match? Although Emperor God Tianling's ranking on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list was higher than the 3 of theirs, there should be a vast difference between his power and Jian Wushuang's too. Alright, everyone. It's not the time for arguments. Let us first think about how to resolve the formation in the galaxy. The Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion tried to mediate the situation. Humph, Palace Master Wu Luo humphed coldly and said, the power of the formation is unusual. I'm afraid only a great emperor could break the formation. Although there are many Almighties in Star Extermination Alliance, the Almighties couldn't concentrate all their power as one. In other words, it is difficult to do a hit similar to a great emperor's. However, if there were to be a power superposition skill that was able to concentrate all our Almighty's power into one, we might stand a chance to break the formation. Power superposition skill. The few experts at the scene exchanged a look. In eternal chaotic world, there weren't many of those power superposition skills. A power superposition skill that could concentrate almost 70 Almighty's powers as one would be even rarer. At least, among the 5 forces, no one had that kind of power superposition skill. We can only make use of our sex influence and find a power superposition skill. Before we find one, we could take some measures. The master of real martial art Divine Church looked around. Although the galaxy formation is strong, there is definitely a flaw or weak point. Among the experts in 5 forces, there are many who are good at formations. Let them study and figure out a way to resolve it. Once they find a flaw, we can also break the formation even without power superposition skill. Besides, before the formation breaks, we can't let Lineage of Star be at peace. It's obvious that they are trying to be a turtle hiding in their shells. If so, let's send our men to taunt and ridicule them outside the galaxy. Let's force them out of the galaxy. Hearing what the master of real martial art had said, Palace Master Wu Luo and the others nodded in agreement. At this point, that's all we can do, Palace Master Wu Luo sighed. The formation gives Lineage of Star time to recover. Number 1 Divine King felt regretful. At first, Star Extermination Alliance could have just barged into the lair of Lineage of Star directly and rooted out Lineage of Star. Then, their progress was stopped temporarily. Humph, let Lineage of Star live for a while. In no time, when the formation collapses, the people from Lineage of Star can't escape, the master of real martial art Divine Church said coldly. The higher-ups of the 5 forces reached a mutual agreement. They sent their orders down. From then on, although the experts from Star Extermination had given up breaking the galaxy formation, they continued to come before the galaxy every day to hurl abuse, humiliate and taunt the people inside. They had no scruples and they were not worried at all. The context of the humiliation was extremely sharp in one's ear. In short, they were offensive. On the other hand, there were experts from Star Extermination who were good at formations, constantly walking around the border of the galaxy to inspect the galaxy formation so that they could find a flaw in the galaxy formation or maybe figure out a way to break the formation. Not only that, Star Extermination Alliance had also paid a great price to invite a few Almighties that were truly good at formations in Sanctuary Alliance so that they could help to inspect the galaxy formation. Chapter 1901 Bear patiently. In Starland, the forces continued to roll on dramatically. However, the war had temporarily stopped. Outside Universe Galaxy, there were 4 figures standing there. The 4 of them were only real gods. They were originally under the command of Lineage of Star, but as Star Extermination Alliance had wiped out Starland, the 4 real gods had turned and fought against Lineage of Star without hesitation. Then, the 4 real gods were standing in front of Lineage of Star as they were humiliated. Ha! Men from Lineage of Star are a bunch of ostriches. Do you intend to hide in there forever? Sword Emperor, Jian Wushuang, I admired you before, but from what it seems now, you are only a coward. After losing the Master of Star Palace attending garrison duty, Lineage of Star didn't even have dignity. If I were to be the Master of Star Palace, I would die again from anger in hell. Doomed. Lineage of Star is really doomed. Hee, I never expected Lineage of Star would fall to such a level. I am only a real god and you cowards from Lineage of Star don't have anyone who dares to fight a battle with me. Sword Emperor, didn't the outside world call you the number 1 genius in eternal chaotic world? I am here to challenge you today. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Ha! Sword Emperor is terrified. He didn't have the guts to fight with you. The 4 Sir Gods laughed heartily. Under the intentional spread via divine power, their voices reverberated in the sky. In the galaxy formation, Hall Master Yuan pulled some tricks to prevent the sounds from outside the galaxy to travel in. The 4 real gods' humiliating speech wasn't heard by any experts from Lineage of Star. However, the experts from Lineage of Star felt aggrieved. Although they couldn't hear what the four real gods said, they could guess what they said through their lip movements. Hence, they were naturally angry. Plus, if Star Extermination Alliance were to send Almighties to taunt them, it'd be fine. They had sent four real gods instead. Real gods. To the Almighties in Lineage of Star, they were only non-entities. Normally, they wouldn't even care about them. But then, the four real gods were blocking the galaxy as they pointed and ridiculed. Who wasn't aggrieved? Who wasn't angry? A bunch of B***stards. I really want to head out to kill those four small potatoes. Hall Master Nya Yun's face was red and there was rage in his eyes. Don't act on impulse, Hall Master Yuan waved and squinted his eyes when he said, Star Extermination is trying to make us angry. Once our experts head out, we will be granting their wish. Bear with them for a bit. Don't forget about Palace Master's plan, Hall Master Gu Xian looked too. Of course I know that. I just feel aggrieved, Hall Master Nya Yun said unhappily. Aggrieved? Who isn't? Hall Master Gu Xian rolled his eyes at Hall Master Nya Yun. No matter how aggrieved we feel, it isn't time for us to attack yet. Bear with it for a little longer. Palace Master said before that we have to suffer for a while. But in no time, we will be able to make them sorry. I believe in Palace Master, Hall Master Nya Yun nodded heavily. Oh yeah, where is Palace Master? He is cultivating in seclusion. If it isn't anything important, don't disturb him, Hall Master Yuan said. At such a crucial moment, he still has the mood to cultivate in seclusion. Hall Master Nya Yun rolled his eyes. Jian Wushuang was really cultivating in seclusion. After they had fought with Star Extermination Alliance and returned to the galaxy, he had gone to cultivate in seclusion immediately. On Sword Star, in a secret room. Jian Wushuang was sitting alone but his eyes were filled with excitement. Almost there, almost there. In no time, I can master this. By then, I will have another extremely powerful trump card. Once I master this trump card, Lineage of Star's winning chance will definitely heighten tremendously. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. The reason why he would tell Hall Master Yuan to activate the Galaxy Formation and urge the experts from Lineage of Star to stay within Galaxy Formation and not rise to any challenge. Firstly, was to show the first feather, in order to create an opportunity for the final battle that was going to take place later on. Secondly, was to give himself more time to master the trump card. Very soon. It won't take long, Jian Wushuang muttered. Time flew past. In the blink of an eye, 250 years had passed. In the 250 years, Star Extermination Alliance never once gave up on humiliating Lineage of Star. Every day, there would be someone cursing before the galaxy. As for the experts who were good at formations, they had been looking for ways to break the galaxy formation, but there was not much progress. As for power superposition skill, there was no news at all. Star Extermination Alliance couldn't do anything about it as well, but they could only continue to besiege them. The forces and experts in Eternal Chaotic World had been paying attention to Lineage of Star for the past 250 years. Although there wasn't much movement in these years, their gazes had never redirected. They also wanted to know just how long Lineage of Star could hold back for. Besides, in the peaceful 250 years, there had been two major incidents. Another two alliances had formed. Lineage of Star had too many enemies. Especially back when the Master of Star Palace had massacred wantonly, he had offended many forces and experts. Then, as the Master of Star Palace, those who eyed Lineage of Star weren't just Abysmal Palace, but also Soaring Heaven King Palace, Divine King Island, Real Martial Art Divine Church and Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion. Star Extermination Alliance, formed by 5 forces, was merely the first that took action. Lineage of Star had many enemies. Their speed wasn't as fast as Star Extermination Alliance, but their hatred of Lineage of Star wasn't weaker than the 5 forces. As Star Extermination Alliance and Lineage of Star were in a stalemate situation, the forces and experts took action one after another. First, they intended to join Star Extermination Alliance and work together so the possibility of destroying Lineage of Star would be higher. However, they wanted to join but Star Extermination wasn't willing to accept them. One should know that Star Extermination Alliance had gathered 5 top major forces. Their team formation was strong. When they fought with Lineage of Star, they had already displayed the difference in power between both parties. 5 forces working together in Star Extermination Alliance was enough. They didn't need to accept other forces and experts. The 5 forces weren't willing to share the benefits that they were going to reap after they destroyed Lineage of Star. Hence, any forces and experts who wanted to join Star Extermination Alliance were rejected by Star Extermination Alliance. They had no choice but to quickly form a new alliance with other forces and experts who harbored deep-seated resentment with Lineage of Star. The alliance had a total of 10 major forces, hence the name Supreme 10 Alliance. Chapter 19:023 Alliances. Supreme 10 Alliance gathered 10 major forces and a few solo experts. Their power was extremely fierce as well. In terms of the number of Almighties alone, Supreme 10 Alliance wasn't weaker than Star Extermination Alliance. However, in terms of Sir God level, they were slightly weaker than Star Extermination Alliance. After all, between the 10 forces in Supreme 10 Alliance, no matter if it was Soaring Heaven King Palace or Divine King Island or Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion, there were some differences. The major 10 forces teamed up and in addition to a few solo experts, there were only 8 Emperor Gods. Amongst them, there were only 2 peak Emperor Gods. One of them was the Master of Emperor Sword sect that Jian Wushuang had once got in contact with. Although in terms of fighting power of Emperor God level, Supreme 10 Alliance was weaker than Star Extermination Alliance. Their overall power was very impressive. Besides, there were not only forces and experts who held grudges against Lineage of Star, but there were also people who had nothing to do with Lineage of Star but were only aiming for the secret skill of Star Palace. The number of these people were even greater. Plus, these people had also formed an alliance called Almighty's Alliance in order to match evenly with Supreme 10 Alliance and Star Extermination Alliance. Almighty's Alliance, there were more than 100 Almighties and there were quite a number of Emperor Gods as well. In terms of their overall power, they were much stronger than Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance. In Lineage of Star, in a lofty palace, Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun gathered together as they analyzed their current situation. 250 years have passed and the entire situation has become clear, Hall Master Yuan said. Previously, there was only Star Extermination Alliance while the others hid in the dark. Lineage of Star didn't know how many forces and experts they were dealing with. Hence, Lineage of Star had been showing the white feather even though they had fighting power that made it needless to be fearful of Star Extermination Alliance. They didn't dare to take action hastily because they had scruples. But then, it was all crystal clear. At least, all these people had come to light. Outside the Milky Way, the 3 alliances stood side by side. Among the 3 alliances, Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance holds deep-seated resentment against Lineage of Star. They are determined to destroy Lineage of Star and root us up. As for Almighty's Alliance, although they are the strongest, they hold no standing, Hall Master said in a deep voice. Almighty's Alliance and Lineage of Star share no grudges. They are only aiming at secret skill of Star Palace. We might be able to talk terms with them, Hall Master Gu Xian said. I think so too, Hall Master Yuan smiled. Just then, Hall Master Yuan was surprised. Why? Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun looked to the side. There is someone outside the Milky Way to request to meet. It is the head of one of the 3 alliances, Emperor God Xiao Luo from Almighty's Alliance. Hall Master said in confusion. Emperor God Xiao Luo. Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun were astonished. They just thought that they could try to talk terms with Almighty's alliance, and then one of the heads of Almighty's alliance, Emperor God Xiao Luo, came to visit. You stay here. Let me welcome Emperor God Xiao Luo in, Hall Master Yuan said. Hall Master Yuan, do we need to inform Palace Master? Emperor God Xiao Luo is a peak emperor god. If he were to have wicked intentions, once he enters the Milky Way and collaborates with the experts outside, they might pose a threat to the grand formation of Milky Way, Hall Master Gu Xian said. Don't worry, Emperor God Xiao Luo only came as a consciousness embodiment. He can't do much, Hall Master Yuan smiled. Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun felt at ease when they heard that. Under the guidance of Hall Master Yuan personally, Emperor God Xiao Luo's consciousness embodiment came into the Milky Way and entered the lofty palace. In the palace, Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun sat side by side. How come there are only 3 of you? Where's Sword Emperor? The balding Emperor God Xiao Luo in black robes looked at the 3 people in front of him. Our palace master is cultivating in seclusion. Excuse him for not being able to greet you personally. Emperor God Xiao Luo, what's the matter? You can talk to us directly. We can make a decision on most matters. Even if we can't, we can send a message to ask Palace Master, Hall Master Yuan said. Cultivation in seclusion. Emperor God Xiao Luo raised his eyebrows. Sword Emperor is so patient. Lineage of Star is cornered in a desperate situation and he has the mood to cultivate in seclusion. Emperor God Xiao Luo, let's be frank here. What's the matter? Hall Master Yuan replied. Actually, the purpose of my visit, you should be able to guess. Emperor God Xiao Luo looked around. Outside the Milky Way, although 3 alliances stand side by side, we Almighty's alliance do not hold any grudges against Lineage of Star. Our purpose is only to obtain secret skill of Star Palace. As long as we obtain secret skill of Star Palace, regardless of Lineage of Star's rise and fall or life and death, it has nothing to do with Almighty's alliance. In other words, as long as we get secret skill of Star Palace, Almighty's alliance can side whichever campsite. Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Nya Yun by the side, they exchanged a look and smiled in their hearts. They could tell from Emperor God Xiao Luo's suggestion that he meant Almighty's alliance could totally stand by Lineage of Star as long as they got the secret skill of Star Palace. I understand what Emperor God Xiao Luo meant. Lineage of Star could let the experts from Almighty's alliance cultivate secret skill of Star Palace. The prerequisite is that they have to first serve Lineage of Star for 10,000 years. Of course, during the 10,000 years, we Lineage of Star would reward according to merit. The 3 volumes of Secret Skill of Star Palace would be given to them one by one according to their contribution, Hall Master Yuan said. Serve Lineage of Star. This is impossible. Emperor God Xiao Luo shook his head. Although you'd only be doing so as guest elders and there isn't any restriction, it's still a no. How about getting everyone from Almighty's alliance to team up with Lineage of Star to defeat Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance, then we let everyone receive the inheritance. Hall Master Yuan suggested again. Emperor God Xiao Luo grew distressed. To defeat Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance head-on? Forget about the power of Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance, which were powerful. The danger that Lineage of Star was facing was faintly supported by the Great Emperor in the back. To have Almighty's alliance take sides and stand by Lineage of Star, it wasn't a problem, it was merely a standing. However, if they wanted Almighty's alliance to go all out and fight Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance head-on, the experts in Almighty's alliance might not be willing to. Why? You're not willing to be Lineage of Star's guest elders. Then, you're not willing to fight against the 2 alliances alongside Lineage of Star. You're merely declaring your standing, yet you want to receive the inheritance of secret skill of Star Palace. Emperor God Xiao Luo, aren't you letting your imagination run wild? Hall Master Yuan's gaze became sharp. Chapter 1903 The Birth of the Strongest Trump Card. Merely a standing, without any substantive action. When the war exploded, Almighty's alliance wouldn't provide any assistance. What was the use then? Hall Master Yuan, you can't put it that way. Emperor God Xiao Luo stood up. We Almighty's alliance are the strongest out of all three alliances. The number of our Almighties is more than 100. With such power, merely declaring our standing is sufficient to make the two alliances have scruples and not take action hastily. It's good enough to be able to do so. We Almighty's alliance only want to save some trouble. If Lineage of Star were to not agree, what if we Almighty's alliance took the two alliances' side? Merely the existence of Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance has already cornered you to such a state. Relying on the grand formation of Milky Way, you can only be protected temporarily. If we Almighty's alliance were to join them. Humph, by then, without attack superposition formation, over 200 Almighties from three alliances will attack simultaneously. Your tortoise shell definitely can't withstand it either. Emperor God Xiao Luo's voice was cold. To him, the visit to Lineage of Star was only to remove unnecessary trouble. After all, if the three alliances were to attack at the same time, there would definitely be dispute in sharing of profit. If he could get secret skill of Star Palace just by declaring their standing, it was naturally the best situation. If Lineage of Star were to be smart enough, they would know the pros and cons. They should also know that they definitely didn't stand much hope if they were to fight three alliances at the same time. Emperor God Xiao Luo, are you threatening Lineage of Star? Hall Master Yuan's face grew gloomy. Hall Master Gu Xian and Hall Master Nya Yun looked upset too. So what if I am threatening you? Lineage of Star has already reached such a situation, so we of Almighty's alliance are willing to give you a last chance. As long as you pass us the inheritance of secret skill of Star Palace, it will be done, and it is already a great mercy. Otherwise, I will immediately discuss with the other two alliances to join forces together to break your tortoise shell and wipe out Lineage of Star. Emperor God Xiao Luo's voice was cold. If so, Lineage of Star has to thank Almighty's alliance then. Thank you, Emperor God Xiao Luo, for your mercy. Hall Master Yuan glared at Emperor God Xiao Luo. Of course, Emperor God Xiao Luo smirked. Hall Master Yuan, I have said what I want to. There's no need to talk further. You'd better inform Emperor Sword, who is cultivating in seclusion. Let him consider this carefully, then reply me. Farewell. Then, Emperor God Xiao Luo's figure shook and his consciousness embodiment dispersed. Looking at Emperor God Xiao Luo's consciousness embodiment disperse, the three hall masters in the palace looked in distress. Ridiculous. Emperor God Xiao Luo is ridiculous. Hall Master Nyayun roared. He is ridiculous. But Almighty's alliance has the capital to be ridiculous, Hall Master Gu Xian said in a deep voice. However, isn't Almighty's alliance going overboard? They don't contribute anything to Lineage of Star. They only don't take action against Lineage of Star, then they want Lineage of Star to pass them the inheritance of secret skill of Star Palace? Even if they want to gain with little pain, this is basically nothing. They are obviously looting a burning house. Regardless, the terms are laid on the table. There is no space for negotiation. As for the final decision, let Palace Master do it. Hall Master Yuan was calm. Immediately, Hall Master Yuan sent the content of his conversation with Emperor God Xiao Luo to Jian Wushuang. In Sword Star, in a secret room, Jian Wushuang continued to cultivate in seclusion. After 250 years of cultivation, Jian Wushuang had reached the most crucial period. In his body, there was an enormous, strange strength concentrating in him madly. The power was power of Star. Power of Star was strange and contained great power. Then, the power of Star in Jian Wushuang's body was transforming. Yes, it was transforming. The transformation lasted for a very long time and it was very slow. Jian Wushuang had already continuously transformed for over a decade. Finally, the transformation of power of Star completed. The third volume of Secret Skill of Star Palace. Completed. The very moment when his power of star completed its transformation, Jian Wushuang opened in his eyes. In the depth of his eyes, there was a strange light that burst out. The light seemed to contain the entire boundless star. Secret Skill of Star Palace was a secret skill of 7-star Black Sect. The secret skill was extremely powerful. Just like the danger that Lineage of Star was facing, it was mainly because of the secret skill. The attraction to the secret skill by all forces and experts in Eternal Chaotic World was too great. However, due to its attraction power, it showed its scariness. Secret Skill of Star Palace was put into 3 volumes. The first volume allowed one to multiply one's attack power by 10 times for 10 breaths time. The second volume allows one to multiply one's attack power by 100 times for 1 breath of time. The second volume's ability to multiply one's attack power by 100 times was already unbelievable. The reason why the Master of Star Palace was so scary was because he had cultivated the second volume. Plus, because there was an existence of a drop of unique blood essence, he could last for a long time after he performed the secret skill. He could massacre and stop at nothing. Unless one was a great emperor, no one could stop him. The second volume was as such. Then, the third volume allows one to multiply one's attack power by 1,000 times, but they could only perform one move. It was the strongest volume in Secret Skill of Star Palace. Although only one move was allowed, a multiplication of power of 1,000 times was terrifying enough. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate it. Jian Wushuang had heard that only the Master of Star Palace was the only one who had cultivated the third volume of Secret Skill of Star Palace in the whole of Lineage of Star. The rumors spread among Deacon Elderlies because they had thought the Master of Star Palace had created the Secret Skill of Star Palace. Hence, the Master of Star Palace had cultivated all 3 volumes of them. But in actual fact, Jian Wushuang was sure that the Master of Star Palace hadn't cultivated the third volume, only the second volume. In the entire Lineage of Star, ever since the Secret Skill of Star Palace started, no one had cultivated the third volume. But then, Jian Wushuang had cultivated it. Although there were many twists and turns in the journey, Jian Wushuang had studied carefully for a very long time. Even he thought he would at least need to break through and become an almighty before he could cultivate the third volume of Secret Skill of Star Palace successfully. But who knows, he had yet to break through, and merely at the peak of real God, he had already cultivated the third volume of the secret skill successfully. Lineage of Star was facing a great danger. To be able to cultivate the secret skill of Star Palace successfully, it was too important for Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1904 Going to Attack. The third volume, once performed, could multiply my attack power by 1,000 times. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands as his eyes shined. Although he could only perform one move, it would be 1,000 times the power. His fighting power was already at the level of peak Emperor God. Which level would he be able to reach if his power were to be increased by 1,000 times? A terrifying hit by a great emperor was nothing. The strongest trump card. The moment Jian Wushuang successfully cultivated Secret Skill of Star Palace, it became his strongest trump card. Just like the other trump cards, King Sword Skill, Star Destruction Skill, River Mountain Map. Although they were all powerful, none of the trump cards would enable him to increase his power by 1,000 times in a split moment. If the trump card were to be utilized appropriately, he could turn around an undesirable change. After grasping the final strongest trump card, Jian Wushuang came out of seclusion. In the lofty palace in Lineage of Star. Palace Master. Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Gu Xian, Hall Master Nye Yun, the 3 of them stood in reverence before Jian Wushuang. Almighty's Alliance, did they make any move? Jian Wushuang looked. No, I think they are still waiting for our reply, Hall Master Yuan said. He, Almighty's Alliance want to take advantage of us during our difficult times. It won't be that easy. Forget about the fact that they offer no effort at all. Even if they were to be willing to work with Lineage of Star to fight against the two alliances, I wouldn't pass them secret skill of Star Palace, Jian Wushuang sneered. If so, I shall reply to them now then, Hall Master Yuan said. There's no hurry, Jian Wushuang waved his hand, don't need to reply. Keep them waiting. Even if they ask, tell them Lineage of Star still needs time to consider. We can hold them back for the time being. Seizing the time, Lineage of Star shall first take care of Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance. Hearing what Jian Wushuang had said, the three Hall Masters were surprised. Palace Master, we are finally taking action. Hall Master Nya Yun's eyes were burning with enthusiasm. All these years, Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance had been sending people who hurled abuse and humiliated them from outside. The experts in Lineage of Star felt aggrieved, let alone Hall Master Nya Yun, who was a short-tempered and impatient person. We've been hiding for so many years and we are so full of grievances. It's finally time for us to get back in the game, Jian Wushuang smiled but his smile was cold. Hall Master Yuan, follow the original plan and carry on, Jian Wushuang commanded. Yes, Hall Master Yuan nodded. His eyes were beaming too. Lineage of Star had been showing the white feather, they had been hiding. Even though they were humiliated, they were holding themselves back. They had been hiding for so long and they were finally going to counterattack. Outside Universe Galaxy, in the vast void, there were lofty palaces and pavilions floating. The palaces and pavilions were built by Star Extermination Alliance temporarily, where the headquarters of Star Extermination Alliance was. Then, in the lofty palace right in the middle. Swoosh! 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 Emperor God Tianling, number 1 Divine King, Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church, Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion, the main representatives rushed over one after another. Palace Master Wu Luo, what's the matter? Why are you looking for us in a hurry? Number 1 Divine King asked. Palace Master Wu Luo, who was waiting in the palace since long ago, smirked, of course, there's good news. Then, Palace Master Wu Luo looked to the person next to him. Everyone else looked at the person as well. She was a white-robed married woman who had a great body. The beautiful married woman only gave out aura of a Sir God. In terms of power, no one at the scene would bother with her. However, her identity was extraordinary. The beautiful married woman was Sir God Inu, a genius in formation. In the past 250 years, Star Extermination Alliance had invited a few geniuses in formation to study the galaxy formation. Amongst them, Sir God Inu was the most knowledgeable in formation. Sir God Inu, did you find the weak point of the formation? Number 1 Divine King couldn't help but ask. Luckily, I accomplished the mission, Sir God Inu smiled. Merely a short reply, but it struck happiness in everyone. One should know that Star Extermination Alliance possessed the power to exterminate Lineage of Star. However, because of galaxy formation, they could do nothing about it. In the past 250 years, they had been trying to resolve the galaxy formation. Then, there was finally news about it. Everyone, please take a look, Sir God Inu waved and there was immediately a miniature galaxy on the floor in the palace. With naked eyes, besides the size, the galaxy looked exactly the same as Universe Galaxy. Look, I marked it here, Sir God Inu pointed at a spot on the galaxy. It was a corner that was hard to notice in Universe Galaxy, which no one would pay attention to normally. Under Sir God Inu's manipulation, there was energy revolving in the galaxy and it formed a cycle. In the complete cycle, the corner that Sir God Inu had marked was the middle of the support for the cycle. As expected. The peak Emperor gods were beaming with joy when they saw it. The galaxy around Lineage of Star is really unique. I've searched for a very long time to find this place. Besides myself, in Eternal Chaotic World, there definitely will be less than 3 people who could find this. Thank you Sir God Inu. The previously agreed reward, we Star Extermination Alliance would triple it, Palace Master Wu Luo said. Thank you, Sir God. Yu was delighted. Palace Master Wu Luo looked at the people around him. As we now know the weak point of the galaxy formation, the following matter is much easier. We only need to break this point with fierce force. The cycle of the galaxy will definitely shatter and the galaxy formation will be resolved. That being said, even the weak point requires fierce power to break it. I wonder if all experts in Star Extermination Alliance could break it if they worked together. Number 1 Divine King creased his eyebrows and said. Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church, how did the attack superposition formation go? Palace Master Wu Luo looked at Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church. We found an ordinary attack superposition formation. Although it could concentrate all Almighty's power, it could at most concentrate over 10 Almighty's power. Our Star Extermination Alliance's experts use this attack superposition formation would concentrate 6 attacks in the end. It is better than all power scattered, better than over 70 attacks. The possibility of breaking the weak point should be high, Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church said. Whether or not we can break it, we will know when we try. Palace Master Wu Luo looked cold. Let's go. Very soon, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance departed. Chapter 1905 True Power. At the border of Universe Galaxy, Sir God Yu found the weak point. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance gathered. Here, everyone, let's do this, Sir God Yu said. Use attack superposition formation, Palace Master Wu Luo ordered. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance immediately took action. The experts, including Emperor Gods, joined forces to perform attack superposition formation. The 6 attack superposition formations gathered the power and fused them together flawlessly. Attack! Everyone launched attacks simultaneously. Boundless billowing power surged and the 6 attack superposition formations quickly formed 6 terrifying attacks. The 6 terrifying attacks formed and hit the weak point of the galaxy formation directly. Hong! There was an earth-shattering thud. Terrifying divine power spread in all directions. There were almost 70 Almighties that teamed up and formed 6 attack superposition formations. The attack power was strong and even a great emperor couldn't belittle it. Under the fierce attack, the galaxy formation, that was firm and sturdy, including Universe Galaxy, shook vigorously. The entire formation trembled in the balance. There's hope. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance were thrilled. Even after the attack, the galaxy formation didn't collapse at the first instant but it shook. Continue. Palace Master Wu Luo's voice was low. The experts continued to attack with attack superposition formations. Hong! As the second attack hit, the entire Universe Galaxy started to break, as though it couldn't endure the hit. When the third attack hit, the galaxy formation that had blocked Star Extermination Alliance for 250 years finally had a huge hole. Although the formation didn't collapse straight away, the hole became an opening of the formation. Finally opened. Palace Master Wu Luo was thrilled and his laughter reverberated. Everyone, follow me in. Kill, destroy Lineage of Star. Kill all of them. Kill. 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 The experts from Star Extermination Alliance were excited. Under the lead of Palace Master Wu Luo and other peak Emperor Gods, they plunged into Universe Galaxy. All of them were soaring with murderous intention. From their point of view, the galaxy formation was Lineage of Star's biggest reliance. Then, as the galaxy formation broke, Lineage of Star was only left to be mercilessly massacred. However, just as Star Extermination Alliance passed through the hole and barged into Universe Galaxy, in the void above the depth of Universe Galaxy, the experts in Lineage of Star continued to stand erect. They could see everything afar through the galaxy. *T, we're doomed. Even the formation broke. There's no turning point for Lineage of Star. The final reliance, it's gone, just like that. The guest elders that were invited looked distressed. They didn't know Lineage of Stars' true power and trump cards. Just like Star Extermination Alliance, they thought Lineage of Star was coming to an end when they saw the galaxy formation break. However, they didn't notice that Jian Wushuang, Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Gu Xian, Hall Master Nia Yun, who were standing at the far front, showed no fear nor anxiety at the sight. On the contrary, the four of them wore a faint smile. It seems that Star Extermination Alliance isn't suspicious as all, Jian Wushuang commented. I intentionally led Sir God In Yun to find the flaw. Sir God In Yu was good at formations. She didn't suspect anything. Naturally, the experts from Star Extermination Alliance couldn't tell. They really thought they had broken Lineage of Star's final reliance, Hall Master Yuan sneered. Everything goes according to plan. Now that Star Extermination Alliance has already fallen into Lineage of Star's trap and they have yet to realize, Palace Master, shouldn't we haul our fishing net? Hall Master Gu Xian said. Hall Master Nia Yun looked enthusiastic. They had been hiding for so long. They had been bottling up for so long. They couldn't hold back any longer. They were only waiting for Jian Wushuang's command. Calm down and be prepared. Jian Wushuang chuckled, then he turned to look at the guest elders. Everyone, get ready. Later, we might need you to go all out. Seize the time before the other two alliances respond. Let's take care of Star Extermination Alliance first. Hearing Jian Wushuang's command, the guest elders were confused. Star Extermination Alliance broke Lineage of Star's final reliance and came inside. Lineage of Star was going to be doomed. However, whatever Jian Wushuang said meant otherwise. Looking at everyone's strange expressions, Hall Master Yuan smiled. Palace Master, it's time. Shouldn't we show our guest elders Lineage of Star's true power? True power? The guest elders were surprised. We should, Jian Wushuang nodded. Then, before all guest elders' suspicious gazes, he waved. Swoosh! 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 There was a large number of figures that appeared in the surrounding void. They were densely dotted, more than 100 of them. The figures were in bronze armors. All of them were brawny and strong like mountains. This is Dao soldiers, they are Dao soldiers. So many Dao soldiers. There are almost 120 of them. Oh God! How is it possible? The guest elders were shocked. They knew about Dao soldiers and they had even fought alongside Dao soldiers before. However, compared to the Dao soldiers that Jian Wushuang had taken out before, there were only 34 of them. After the fight with Star Extermination Alliance, there were some that were damaged. However, what were the 120 Dao soldiers in front of them? The guest elders had yet to respond and there were suddenly two figures that appeared next to Jian Wushuang. One of the two was a hunchbacked elder. The other one was a Taoist-robed elder who stood next to Jian Wushuang like a servant. When the two people appeared, the guest elders were taken by surprise again. Peak Emperor Gods. Two Peak Emperor Gods. Oh my God. The guest elders couldn't help but gulp. They finally understood why the higher-ups of Lineage of Star, Jian Wushuang and the other three Hall Masters, were so confident when Star Extermination Alliance had barged in. It turned out that Lineage of Star's true power was then revealed. Almost 120 Dao soldiers and two Peak Emperor Gods, three including Jian Wushuang. In addition to the guest elders, in terms of team formation, Lineage of Star wasn't any weaker than Star Extermination Alliance but faintly stronger. Chapter 1906 Galaxy John. Almost 120 Dao soldiers and two Peak Emperor Gods, that's the true power of Lineage of Star. They have stronger power than Star Extermination Alliance but they have been holding back and didn't attack. They are, showing the white feathers. Showing the white feathers. The guest elders thought of that. Then, they gasped a breath of cold air. As Lineage of Star had been showing the white feathers, Star Extermination Alliance broke the formation to barge in. Didn't it mean it was a trap? Everyone, Lineage of Star has held back for 250 years for the scene that just happened. Now, it's time to haul the fishing net. Jian Wushuang smiled. Hall Master Yuan, tell them about the galaxy. Yes, Hall Master Yuan nodded. He looked at the guest elders. Everyone, it looks as though Star Extermination Alliance broke the galaxy formation. But in actual fact, I was the one who led them to break it. Not only that, after they break in, I will lead them to the core region of the galaxy formation. Then, the galaxy formation's power will be displayed fully. Later, I will send all of you to the core of the galaxy formation as well. There, you will receive power support for the formation. The power that you can perform would be stronger than before. This is one of the advantages. Second, I will control the spacetime in the core region. I will utilize spacetime to provide utmost assistance to all of you. For instance, when you were to be severely injured and at the brink of death, I will immediately perform spacetime measure to move you in order to ensure your safety. Of course, if you were to die too quickly, I couldn't do anything about it. Besides the two mentioned advantages, the galaxy formation also contains fierce attack skill. You will know about the attack skill later. Hall Master Yuan said, and the guest elders were surprised. Previously, they had thought that it was merely defense power of the galaxy formation. However, from what it seemed, the formation was far beyond that. They already possessed a stronger team formation than Star Extermination Alliance originally. In addition to such powerful formation, the time was right, geographical and social conditions were favorable to Lineage of Star. These guest elders started to pity Star Extermination Alliance's upcoming result. The people from Star Extermination Alliance have already arrived at the core region, Hall Master Yuan suddenly said. Everyone beamed with joy. Sword Emperor, let's take action, Emperor God Xian Wu said in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry, let me play with them first, Hall Master Yuan smiled creepily. In Universe Galaxy, the core region of the galaxy formation. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance continued to plunge forward and intended to barge into the lair of Lineage of Star. However, after flying for a while, forget about the lair of Lineage of Star, they didn't even see a shadow. Something's not right. The master of real martial arts Divine Church, the galaxy formation was Lineage of Star's reliance. Theoretically, when we were attacking the galaxy formation, Lineage of Star should respond. However, we already broke the formation and barged into the galaxy for so long. Lineage of Star didn't even move an inch. There wasn't any expert who came to stop us either. This is not normal. What's not normal? From what I see, Lineage of Star definitely knew Star Extermination Alliance had barged in and they are panicking. Hence, they are gathering their experts and disciples to plan how to escape. Number 1 Divine King smirked in disdain. Escape? The surrounding people heard that word and they smiled. Obviously, they agreed with the idea. 250 years ago, Lineage of Star and Star Extermination Alliance had fought and the difference in their power had been fully displayed. Lineage of Star couldn't match evenly with Star Extermination Alliance. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hidden in the galaxy formation for 250 years and they wouldn't have yet to counterattack when they were humiliated. Then, the formation collapsed. Under normal circumstances, the experts in Lineage of Star would definitely opt to escape. At most, they would only send some of their experts to hold them back in order to buy more time for more people to escape. Most people thought so. It was because Lineage of Star had showed the white feather for over 200 years. Hence, they thought so. Don't bother about that. No matter what measure Lineage of Star takes, before the absolute difference of power, everything will be in vain. Until we barge into the lair of Lineage of Star, we will kill all experts in Lineage of Star. Palace Master Wu Luo was soaring with murderous intention. The people in Star Extermination Alliance nodded heavily. Just then. Viroom. A terrifying power suddenly concentrated in front of the experts in Star Extermination Alliance. In a short while, the power substantiated into 4 huge figures. The 4 figures were 4 one-eyed giants that was more than 10 zhang tall. The one-eyed giants were holding a mace each. Their intense ori that carried rage within were given out from the one-eyed giants' bodies and pressed at Star Extermination Alliance. What are those? Such strong ori. In terms of ori, the 4 giants don't seem to be any weaker than Emperor God. Judging from their bodies, they were substantiated from energy, not real lives. The experts in Star Extermination Alliance stopped and their gazes fixed upon the 4 one-eyed giants. In the depth of the galaxy, everyone in Lineage of Star could see clearly through the galaxy. Hall Master Yuan, these 4 giants are. The guest elders looked at Hall Master Yuan suspiciously. These are one-eyed giants substantiated by the galaxy formation, also known as galaxy giants. Every single one of them has the power of an emperor god. With the power that the galaxy formation possessed, it could substantiate 4 of them and it is already at its maximum limit, Hall Master Yuan said. Everyone heard and was surprised again. The 4 one-eyed giants were 4 emperor gods. Let the 4 one-eyed giants play with Star Extermination Alliance first, Hall Master Yuan smiled. At the core region of the galaxy formation, 4 one-eyed giants had already attacked. They were holding a mace each as they soared with murderous intention. They charged at the experts in Star Extermination Alliance ferociously. The experts in Star Extermination Alliance were raging with anger. They naturally counterattacked immediately. Hong! 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 A loud thud reverberated in Universe Galaxy. Every single thud could easily break mountains and split rivers. However, to Universe Galaxy, such a thud wouldn't cause any effect. In such a ferocious fight, the 4 one-eyed giants displayed fighting power that wasn't any weaker than an emperor god's. They brought about great trouble to Star Extermination Alliance. However, there were many almighties in Star Extermination Alliance. There was a total of 10 of them. They weren't shakeable by the 4 one-eyed giants. In a short while, the 4 one-eyed giants were forced into a desperate situation. Hall Master Yuan, the 4 one-eyed giants can't hold any longer, there was a guest elder that immediately said. Chapter 1907 Trap. Don't worry, Hall Master Yuan smiled confidently. In the core region of the galaxy formation, the experts were under attack by the 4 one-eyed giants. Bang! 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 The 4 huge figures collapsed. However, looking at the 4 one-eyed giants that just crumbled, in the vast void, a large amount of energy concentrated and immediately formed 4 one-eyed giants again. This is... Everyone from Lineage of Star looked shocked. The 4 one-eyed giants are substantiated by the galaxy formation. As long as the formation is there, the one-eyed giant is invincible. Even if they were defeated, they could resubstantiate and continue to fight, Hall Master Yuan explained, this is only one of the attacks of the galaxy formation. As for more attack measures, wait till the formation goes full force and displays them. Jian Wushuang nodded and looked around. Next, it's time for all of you to attack. Like I said before, you'll be rewarded according to merit. If everyone would like to get the secret skill of Star Palace earlier, you have to go all out for this battle. Sword Emperor, don't worry, Emperor God Jiao Yin was the first to reply, with our team and the aid of the formation, although I don't dare to say we could kill all experts in Star Extermination Alliance, we could at least defeat them, crush them in heavy defeat. Yes, defeat them, crush them. We felt aggrieved for so many years and it is finally time to counterattack. Don't let any of them escape the galaxy formation alive. The guest elders' eyes were burning with enthusiasm and their faces were plastered with bloodthirsty smiles. Jian Wushuang lifted the corners of his lips at the sight. Then, he looked at Hall Master Yuan. Send us over. All right, Hall Master Yuan nodded. Under the manipulation of Hall Master Yuan, there were space wormholes in the void in front of them. Everyone, go ahead, Hall Master said in a bright and loud voice. Everyone in Lineage of Star, including the 120 Dao soldiers, took a huge stride into the space wormholes in front of them without hesitation. Thought space wormhole, the experts in Lineage of Star instantly appeared in the core region of the galaxy formation. There, the experts in Star Extermination Alliance were fighting with the 4 one-eyed giants. They had already broken the one-eyed giants once, but the one-eyed giants substantiated again and fought with them again. The 4 one-eyed giants are not true living things. They should be affected by the galaxy. As long as they are within the galaxy, they are invincible. There's no need to tangle with them. We only need to barge into the lair of Lineage of Star, Palace Master Wu Luo shouted. Suddenly, Virum. The space wormholes appeared in the surrounding void. In an instant, there were at least 10 space wormholes that appeared from nowhere. Then, there were figures that leapt out from the space wormholes and appeared in front of the experts in Star Extermination Alliance. Looking at the figures that leaped out from the space wormholes, the experts in Star Extermination Alliance were shocked. Too many. There were too many experts who had leapt out from the space wormholes. There was absolutely more than 100 of them. Amongst, the bronze-armored Dao soldiers were the most. Star Extermination Alliance knew these Dao soldiers as well. How could there be so many? Oh my. *T. The experts in Star Extermination Alliance were shocked. Everyone in Lineage of Star, including the Dao soldiers, was soaring with murderous intention the moment they leapt out of the space wormholes. Die! Kill all of them! Ha! Star Extermination Alliance, you came today, so don't think about leaving. The voice shook the earth as everyone attacked simultaneously. Once they attacked, they went all out. In the surrounding galaxy, there was a layer of blurry light, just like warm sunlight that shone on all experts and Dao soldiers from Lineage of Star. The experts and Dao soldiers' power received a certain level of improvement. Hong! An earth-shattering war was finally taking place. Be careful. Trap, it's a trap. Lineage of Star, since when did they have so many extra Dao soldiers? And the formation, what's going on with it? Star Extermination Alliance was panicking. That was normal. After the war that had happened 250 years ago, after they had defeated Lineage of Star, Star Extermination Alliance didn't think how powerful Lineage of Star could be. They thought as long as the galaxy formation collapsed, it would be easy to destroy Lineage of Star. But then, the scene before them had totally surpassed their expectations. Since the appearance of the 4 one-eyed giants to the display of Lineage of Star's power, most importantly, the 120 Dao soldiers. The fighting power was shocking. Then, no matter how stupid they were, they could tell that Lineage of Star was showing the white feather and was hiding. Why did they show the white feather? Why did they hide? No doubt, it was because of them. In order to reveal flaws intentionally and lead them to the core of the formation. From the beginning to the end, it had been Lineage of Star's strategy. It was a trap. *****. Don't panic. There was a loud roar. Number 1 Divine King from Divine King Island was giving out terrifying aura as his voice reverberated in the battlefield. So what if it is a trap? We Star Extermination Alliance gathered 5 top forces and our overall fighting power is fierce. How could Lineage of Star match evenly to us? Don't panic. Launch full attack and kill everyone in Lineage of Star. Listening to Number 1 Divine King's comment, the experts in Star Extermination Alliance calmed down. Yes, even if the formation was really a trap, the strategy that Lineage of Star had set up from the beginning to the end, Star Extermination Alliance's power was on display. Almost 70 Almighties and 10 Emperor Gods could easily wipe out everything. Die! Die! The experts in Star Extermination Alliance beamed with sharp gaze and greeted their attack. This should be it. Number 1 Divine King's eyes grew cold. But then, no. A shrill scream was heard. The roar came from next to number 1 Divine King. Number 1 Divine King immediately looked and saw a resplendent golden light piercing the head of a young and immature young man dressed in black. The resplendent golden light pierced his head and paused in the void slightly. Number 1 Divine King saw clearly that the resplendent golden light was Jian Wushuang's Hong Jun golden sword. Second brother. Number 1 Divine King was suddenly shocked. One should know that Hong Jun golden sword had pierced his second brother's head, also the number 2 Divine King of Divine King Island. There was a total of 3 Divine Kings in Divine King Island. The 3 Divine Kings controlled Divine King Island together and they were tightly knitted like true brothers. There were 2 Divine Kings that came from Divine King Island, but then his second brother was killed before him directly. Chapter 1908 Fierce Battle. Jian Wushuang. There was a sudden roar, seemingly from the highest heaven. Number 1 Divine King's face instantly grew red and his veins popped. There was fierce fire that was burning in his eyes, just like a lion in rage. His eyes were like lightning as he locked gazes with Jian Wushuang in the void in front. Ha, number 1 Divine King, weren't you calm earlier? You said it didn't matter even if Lineage of Star prepared the trap. Why? I only killed one of the Divine King from Divine King Island and you got so anxious. Jian Wushuang sneered. Just like the experts in Lineage of Star and the Dao soldiers, Jian Wushuang had already attacked the moment they leaped out from the space wormhole. Number 2 Divine King from Divine King Island happened to be around him and Jian Wushuang had targeted him at the first instant. He suddenly attacked and the 4 Hong Jun golden swords flew out simultaneously. Under full force, number 2 Divine King couldn't resist at all. On top of that, he didn't have any chaotic divine treasure level defense armor. In an instant, Jian Wushuang killed him on the spot. The speed was too fast. So fast that number 1 Divine King didn't manage to save him in time. I want to kill you. Number 1 Divine King felt hysteric. A peak Emperor God's terrifying aura spread out. He clenched the saber in his hand and took a leap forward to charge at Jian Wushuang. Besides, Palace Master Wu Luo and the Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church had locked onto Jian Wushuang as their target as well. Jian Wushuang, you escaped last time. You won't be that lucky this time. Palace Master Wu Luo's voice was loud. Jian Wushuang, you have to die today. The Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church beaming with cold light. The 2 Peak Emperor God knew that no one was Jian Wushuang's opponent one-on-one. Jian Wushuang so that Jian Wushuang couldn't free himself to attack the people at the surrounding battlefield. The 3 Peak Emperor Gods charged to him but Jian Wushuang wasn't fearful at all. Ha, in the previous battle, we had to show the white feather and I couldn't mess with you much. But today, I'd love to fight against the 3 Emperor Gods heartily. Jian Wushuang's voice was rampage. He revealed his ancient tribe body with 7 heads and 14 arms while the 4 Hong Jun golden swords floated in front of his body. Die! Jian Wushuang exploded his full power. After merely 250 years, he stood alongside the 3 Peak Emperor Gods again. At their surrounding, the experts and Dao soldiers from both campsites started a ferocious war. Bang! 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 There were constant bangs and thuds resounding. The war was in a white-hot stage from the very beginning. In the crowd, a creepy dim light followed by 2 flashes appeared in front of a white-haired man in white robe. I am Qian Mingzi. I have been looking forward to meeting Emperor God Tianling. Qian Mingzi flashed a gentle smile. Qing Mingzi, never heard of you. Emperor God Tianling's face was cold and the gaze he looked at Qian Mingzi was as though he was a cloud of air. From today onwards, you will know of my name then. I won't give you any chance to interfere with the battlefield, Qian Mingzi smiled. You? Emperor God Tianling's eyes let out chilliness and there were no emotions. Why not give it a try? Qian Mingzi didn't talk further but charged at Emperor God Tianling. Before the fight began, Jian Wushuang had already instructed him to hold Emperor God Tianling back so that he wouldn't have a chance to take action. Qing Mingzi naturally gave his best. The war was earth-shattering. The fight was extremely ferocious. To begin with, in terms of team formation alone, Lineage of Star wasn't weaker than Star Extermination Alliance. In addition to the 4 one-eyed giants, their fighting power was even slighter stronger. Plus, Lineage of Star had the assistance of galaxy formation. Since the beginning of the war, the experts and Dao soldiers of Lineage of Star had had the assistance of galaxy formation. Hence, the displayed power was obviously much stronger. Besides, Hall Master, who was hidden in the depths of the galaxy, couldn't stay put. In one corner of the battlefield. Dang! Dang! There were 2 loud thuds and Emperor God Jiao Yin was sent backwards by his opponent. After a while, he steadied his figure. Then, he scoffed and plunged out again as his fighting power was not affected at all. That scene made the Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion, who was fighting with Emperor God Jiao Yin, look distressed. Although the Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion wasn't a peak Emperor God, he was extremely close to one. Many years ago, the Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion had once crossed paths with Emperor God Jiao Yin. Back then, Emperor God Jiao Yin would opt to avoid him when he saw him and he didn't have the courage to fight with him. But now, Emperor God Jiao Yin took advantage of the assistance from the surrounding formation and he has the courage to fight head-on with me. Plus, he has chaotic divine treasure levels armor to protect his body. I can do nothing about him. The Master of Highest Heaven Emperor Mansion was helpless. In the void next to them. Poof! One of the guest elders in Lineage of Star, a red-robed woman, was surprise attacked by a Sir God and she was severely injured. Die! There were immediately 2 Sir Gods from Star Extermination Alliance, including a top Sir God that charged at her. *T, the red-robed woman's face changed. Just then. Viroom. Behind the red-robed woman, there was a space wormhole that appeared from nowhere. At the same time, there was a palm that was substantiated from energy extended from the inside of space wormhole and grabbed her into the space wormhole. The red-robed woman disappeared in the space wormhole and the space wormhole dispersed instantly. What? The 2 Sir Gods who had been charging at the red-robed woman were surprised. In the void in the depth of the galaxy. Viroom. The red-robed lattice figure appeared again. Thank you, Hall Master Yuan. The red-robed woman looked at Hall Master Yuan in front of her with gratitude. She knew clearly that if Hall Master Yuan hadn't managed to drag her there from the battlefield earlier, she was most likely be dead. Take your time to recover. Hall Master Yuan said while his gaze fixed upon the battlefield in the core region. As soon as there were experts from Lineage of Star or Dao soldiers that were in danger on the battlefield, he would immediately take action to manipulate the spacetime within the formation to rescue them. Then, he could reduce the damage of Lineage of Star tremendously. Of course, in such a vigorous war, one might lose their life if they weren't careful. Some came across dangers that Hall Master Yuan didn't manage to rescue them from in time. It's about time. We should start using that move. Hall Master Yuan muttered and his eyes were unusually cold. In the core region of galaxy formation, on the huge battlefield, the experts from both campsites were fighting ferociously. Just then, without any signs, there were 3 space wormholes that appeared suddenly in 3 corners on the battlefield. From the space wormholes, there was a ray of purple light that burst out. Chapter 19099 Province Seal Show Off. Viroom. 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 The 3 rays of purple light quivered, then the energy concentrated and suddenly substantiated into 3 purple spears. The 3 purple spears flew out at terrifying speed. Instantly, they appeared behind the 3 Sir Gods of Star Extermination Alliance. The three Sur gods were in a ferocious fight with their opponents and 2 out of 3 of them were suppressed. Dealing with the purple spears that attacked out of nowhere without any symptoms. The 3 Sur gods' faces grew grave. *T. D**MN. No. Bang. Bang. Pust. There were 3 continuous thuds. The 3 Sur gods were hit by the purple spears directly. Among them, there were 2 that got severely injured and fell back under the attack of the purple spear. The last one was weaker in defense and he died on the spot after the purple spear pierced his body. Not bad. In the depth of the galaxy, Hall Master Yuan saw the effects that the 3 purple spears had brought about and he was satisfied. After 10 breaths, I can carry out the second attack. 1 breath. 2 breaths. Hall Master Yuan had already started to count. Universe Galaxy was from ancient times and its power was far beyond a simple defense formation. In terms of attack and auxiliary power, it was shockingly powerful. Since the 4 one-eyed giants at the beginning until the 3 purple spears, they were all techniques that Universe Galaxy possessed. Plus, Universe Galaxy had been severely damaged and it could only perform simple techniques. If Universe Galaxy were to receive abundant heaven and earth spiritual energy to recover the galaxy completely, with the Guardian of Universe Galaxy, even if there were to be a great Emperor expert that barged in personally, he could only enter, not leave. On the battlefield, how could it be? This is impossible. The higher-ups of Star Extermination Alliance, also the 3 peak Emperor gods who were fighting with Jian Wushuang, had been keeping watch of the surrounding battlefield. They could see the scenery on the battlefield clearly. Star Extermination Alliance was already under control. They were completely suppressed. In terms of overall fighting power, they were weaker than Lineage of Star by a slight bit. On top of that, Lineage of Star had the aid of the formation. Hence, their difference in power became even greater. From the start of the war until then, it was merely a short while. But Star Extermination Alliance was under their full control. If they were to continue the war, Lineage of Star would gain the upper hand bit by bit and finally defeat Star Extermination Alliance completely. I have to figure out a way immediately. Otherwise, we of Star Extermination Alliance will be defeated. Palace Master Wu Luo roared. Go all out. Give full play to whatever trump card you have. Hurry up and kill Jian Wushuang. Only when the 3 of us have the bandwidth to fight the others, there would be a turning for this unfavorable situation, the Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church said. What are we waiting for then? Let's go all out. Number 1 Divine King bellowed. Jian Wushuang killed his second brother. His intention to kill Jian Wushuang was much stronger than anyone else. The moment Jian Wushuang heard the conversation between the 3 of them, he scoffed, all out? I'd like to see whose techniques are more powerful. Jian Wushuang said, then he flipped his palm. There was a scroll painting that he threw in the void above. Instantly, the void above the galaxy started to take a drastic change. The originally resplendent galaxy suddenly replaced by a huge and beautiful world with mountains and rivers. What is this? Many experts on the battlefield couldn't help but lift their heads up to look. Simultaneously, they were astonished by the huge world above. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold but his body was churning with divine power. The divine power blended with the world of mountains and rivers completely. 9 Province of the Universe, Qing Province as the seal. The first move, split the heavens. Hong. Along with Jian Wushuang's handprint, a complete continent descended from the world of mountains and rivers directly. The continent pressed down at the entire battlefield but was diminished forcibly under Jian Wushuang's control. In the end, it only covered the region that the 3 peak emperor gods were in. Feeling the boundless power contained in the seal, the 3 emperor gods' faces grew extremely solemn. Let's take action together to shatter the continent, Palace Master Wu Luo said. Alright, number 1 Divine King and the Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church nodded heavily. Instantly, the three peak emperor gods let their strongest fighting powers run wild. Bang! 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 The three attacks were like huge meteorites. They hit the descended lofty continent like lightning. Along with the loud noises, the lofty continent shattered into pieces under the attack of the three meteorites. There was no change in Jian Wushuang's expression when he saw the scene. In his hand, there was still billowing divine power concentrating. 9 Province of the universe, you province as the seal. The second move, hack the earth. Hong. The second lofty continent descended. The power contained by the continent was obviously much stronger than the first continent. The terrifying power suppressed the entire universe and the corners of the three emperor gods' lips were twitching. They knew clearly that it was definitely impossible to withstand such a terrifying attack if they were to be alone. Then, there were three peak emperor gods joining forces after all. Go! Palace Master Wu Luo roared and instantly performed his strongest skills. The ancient hammer in his hand immediately increased tenfold under his control. The soaring rage swept out. The hammer was like a real star. As Palace Master Wu Luo waved, the stars suddenly burst out. Number 1 Divine King looked cold as boundless crimson fog flowed out of his body as though he was covered in a crimson armor. His eyes were like crimson suns and the crimson saber in his hands was increasing in size tremendously as well. The towering saber's shadows concentrated in the void and the saber's shadows superposed onto one another intended to split the heaven into half. Wow! The blade light swung out and it was whistling as it flew at the descending lofty continent. As for the master of real martial arts Divine Church, he used both his hands. The two palms were covered in boundless golden lights and they flipped out two palms of real martial arts. Bang! 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 There were terrifying noises again and the second continent collapsed once again. It collapsed. Palace Master Wu Luo, number 1 Divine King, the master of real martial arts just let out a breath of relief but they had yet to reveal a smile. Jian Wushuang's hand, that contained boundless divine power, waved again. The third move, overwhelm the rain. Rumble. There was another continent that descended. The continent was much stronger than the first and second seal. 9 Province Seal, the third move, overwhelm the rain, also the strongest seal that Jian Wushuang could perform with the assistance of Mountain River Map. Under the full explosion of his fierce divine power and ancient tribe bloodline, the power of the seal was given full play completely. There's more. The three peak emperor gods were shocked. Chapter 1910 Suppressing 3 people alone. Merely the first seal wasn't strong enough for the 3 of them to bother with. The second seal, although it was more powerful, the 3 of them resisted it with full force. Then, the even scarier third seal descended. Let's do it together. Palace Master Wu Lui roared and his aura increased tremendously again. Number 1 Divine King and the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church didn't hesitate but gave their all. The 3 peak emperor gods gave their all again. The attack that they launched was slightly stronger than before. Very soon, the two parties collided. Bang! There was a loud bang and the universe became quiet. In the boundless galaxy, there was boundless divine power sweeping out in madness. Instantly, it formed a vast ocean of divine power. In the divine power ocean, the 3 peak emperor gods let out a low humph and their faces grew paler. The Master of Real Martial Arts Divine Church and number 1 Divine King, who was weaker in defense, had blood flowing from the corners of their lips. How is it possible? Number 1 Divine King couldn't hold back and roared angrily. His roar shook the universe. 250 years ago, the 3 peak emperor gods had joined forces and defeated Jian Wushuang. But then, similarly, the 3 of them had joined forces but the result had been the total opposite. It wasn't them who had suppressed Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang who had suppressed the 3 of them with the aid of Mountain River Map. With his power alone, he had suppressed 3 peak emperor gods. Then, it was the terrifying fighting power that Jian Wushuang had shown. However, there shouldn't be any that possessed such fighting power among emperor gods. It instantly stirred a great commotion from the bottom of the three emperor gods' hearts. They found it unbelievable. However, Jian Wushuang was extremely calm. 250 years ago, I wanted to show the white feather and I never revealed any of my trump cards. Just like this mountain river map, I've never used it. But now, I give full play to mountain river map's power with my all. Besides, the galaxy formation increases my power to a certain extent. My overall power has increased by almost 20%. The combination of two, to suppress three peak emperor gods in terms of power is not impossible. Jian Wushuang sneered and there was fighting intention soaring in his eyes. Palace Master Wu Luo, number 1 Divine King, the master of real martial art Divine Church, let's fight again. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang was boiling with rage. His body turned illusionary and charged out again. The three peak emperor gods' faces grew grave. At first, they had intended to take care of Jian Wushuang as early as possible, then they could help the surrounding battlefield. At the surrounding battlefield, Star Extermination Alliance was already at a disadvantage. Plus, as the experts of Star Extermination Alliance passed away one after another, their condition continued to worsen. In no time, they'd collapse entirely. Then, the three of them wanted to take care of Jian Wushuang. It would be a wild dream. Three peak emperor gods team up and you are suppressed by a real god. The three of you are rubbish. A cold humph was heard across the battlefield. Palace Master Wu Luo and the other two suddenly burned with rage and they immediately looked to the source of the voice. They happened to see a young man with snow-white hair towering in the void. Emperor God Tianling, don't just stand there. If you are capable, come over here and fight with Jian Wushuang. Palace Master Wu Luo said in a low voice. Yes, you can come and try, number 1 Divine King glared too. Humph, you have time to tease us. You might as well hurry up and figure out a way to take care of your opponent, the master of real martial art Divine Church humphed coldly. They had noticed Emperor God Tianling's situation long ago. Since their battle began, Emperor God Tianling had been entangled by Qian Mingzi. They were in a constant, ferocious fight and had yet to call the match. What did he have to tease them? Emperor God Tianling, the three of them are right. You'd better figure out how to get rid of me. Qian Mingzi smiled at Emperor God Tianling. You? Emperor God Tianling smiled in disdain. I only didn't want to attack so soon. But from the way it is now, I have no choice. You have been holding back your power. Qian Mingzi squinted his eyes. Emperor God Tianling had yet to reply, but the black spear that was tightly clenched in his hands flew to the void in front of him. Walala! A huge whirlpool tunnel appeared from nowhere. No one saw how Emperor God Tianling did his fierce attack as he merely let loose his grip and let the spear fly into the whirlpool tunnel. Virum! The space-time behind Qian Mingzi shattered. Although there was a long distance and Emperor God Tianling continued to stand where he was, the black spear in his hand immersed into the whirlpool tunnel and charged to Qian Mingzi's head. It was too fast and it was indescribable as neither lightning nor fire. This spear. Qian Mingzi stared and his heart skipped a beat. He had fought with Emperor God Tianling earlier. Although the fighting power that he had displayed was shocking and was enough to be listed in the top 20 of Heaven and Earth's supreme ranking list, he followed Purple Moon Emperor for so many years and he was unusually capable himself and could easily deal with him. But then, the spear. The terrifying spear that ignored spacetime shook Qian Mingzi and his face grew grave. Bang! There was a loud bang and Qian Mingzi blocked the spear at the most crucial moment. However, the terrifying impact contained in the spear instantly pushed Qian Mingzi backward. As he retreated, Emperor God Tianling attacked again. Swoosh! 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 3 continuous spears shot out and they blossomed in the void. Every single spear was accompanied along an exotic beast's roar. The void shattered and the three spears' shadow appeared next to Qian Mingzi without any symptoms and aimed at him ferociously. Qian Mingzi grew solemn. Although he was retreating and there was no working point, he continued to put his techniques to play and forcibly blocked two spears' shadows that almost hit his vital parts. The last remaining spear's shadow wasn't hindered but hit his chest. The armor on the surface of Qian Mingzi's body immediately appeared. Hong! A terrifying power rushed over. Poof! Qian Mingzi immediately spat a mouthful of blood, then his face grew pale. His figure was retreating quickly from the impact. Emperor God Tianling saw the scene from afar and his eyes turned cold. He gripped the spear in his hands again and intended to attack again. But suddenly, there was a space tunnel that appeared behind him. Then, there were three rays of purple lights. They were three spears that contained fierce power and they were flying at him. The three purple spears were naturally assistants from Hall Master Yuan, who was hidden in the depth of the galaxy. Due to the influence of the three purple spears, Emperor God Tianling's action was delayed by a slight bit and he couldn't continue to hunt Qian Mingzi. After Qian Mingzi had steadied himself, he moved and his figure appeared next to Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1911 The Powerful Emperor God Tianling. Jian Wushuang, Emperor God Tianling is really powerful. Qian Mingzi said. I can tell. Jian Wushuang had already stopped then. He had seen the way Emperor God Tianling had attacked earlier. He could feel Emperor God Tianling's terrifying spear techniques. In a far distance, he tore spacetime and attack. Such techniques required one to have high comprehension of spacetime doctrine, at least much higher than Jian Wushuang's comprehension towards spacetime doctrine. Besides, the power of the spear, one should know that Qian Mingzi had been under Purple Moon Emperor all this while. His power was powerful and also possessed the fighting power of a top 20 on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. Among Emperor Gods in Eternal Chaotic World, Qian Mingzi should be able to be in the top 5. Plus, Qian Mingzi had chaotic divine treasure level armor to protect his body. Even so, with merely 2 moves Qian Mingzi was severely injured by Emperor God Tianling. Even then, if it wasn't for Hall Master Yuan, who had helped using the galaxy formation, Qian Mingzi's life would be at risk. Emperor God Tianling, it seems that everyone has belittled you. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and stared at Emperor God Tianling. Emperor God Tianling had yet to attack anyone for a long time. Over the years, he had been wandering in the second lair and he had hardly shown up. Back when Jian Wushuang had cornered Soaring Heaven King Palace to a miserable situation, Emperor God Tianling had never once left the second lair. Then, Jian Wushuang had even suspected that Emperor God Tianling found an opportunity and was cultivating at crucial time. It seemed that the truth was so. Emperor God Tianling's power was much more powerful since the last time he had attacked in front of anyone. Emperor God Tianling, Palace Master Wu Luo, Number 1 Divine King, the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church were looking at Emperor God Tianling in shock. In shock, there were more elements of surprise. Even though they had been teasing one another earlier, they were on the same side after all. Then, Star Extermination Alliance was at an absolute disadvantage and they were on the brink of collapsing. At such a crucial moment, Emperor God Tianling stood out. To Star Extermination Alliance, it was naturally a great surprise, a good surprise. Let me take care of Jian Wushuang and Qian Mingzi. The 3 of you, go and help the surrounding battlefield. Emperor God Tianling's voice was cold. With you alone, you can handle them both at the same time? Palace Master Wu Luo creased his eyebrows. Hee, they are merely 2 bigger ants. Not only I can handle them, it is also rather easy for me to just kill the 2 of them, Emperor God Tianling sneered. Both his hands exerted strength suddenly and the black spear in his hand quivered. There was a strange exotic beast's roar reverberated in the void. Virum. The void shook and the space in front of Jian Wushuang and Qian Mingzi shattered. The black spear brought boundless power and constantly magnified in Jian Wushuang and Qian Mingzi's eyes. The spear. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. Such terrifying power. Qian Mingzi was terrified. Ancient God, the eighth finger. Jian Wushuang roared and Ancient God's eighth finger suddenly pressed out. Qian Mingzi's body grew tremendously and became a devil. The crimson axe in his hands swung out. The two of them gave their all. Bang! Bang! There were two loud bangs. Then, Jian Wushuang and Qian Mingzi were forced to retreat from the impact. However, the both of them had joined forces after all. It wasn't like before, when Qian Mingzi had been alone. Hence, it was slightly easier to withstand it. However, the collision also fully displayed that Emperor God Tianling had the upper hand, even if he were to fight alone against two. Most importantly, Emperor God Tianling performed his spear technique rather casually. Obviously, he had yet to go all out. Too strong. Emperor God Tianling is too powerful. I feel like he isn't much weaker than Underworld God, Qian Mingzi roared. Underworld God? Jian Wushuang stunned. Underworld God, the 16th place on Heaven and Earth's supreme ranking list. In Eternal Chaotic World, he was widely recognized as the number one. He was extremely powerful. It was said that even if he ran into an ordinary great emperor, he could give it a try to fight. Then, Qian Mingzi said that Emperor God Tianling was not much weaker than Underworld God. Qian Elder has been following Purple Moon Emperor all these years. He is definitely clear with Underworld God's power. He might even fought with him once. If he said so, he definitely wouldn't be lying, Emperor God Tianling. Jian Wushuang's face grew grave. In the middle of the galaxy, Emperor God Tianling, with snow-white hair, held his spear in one hand. The aura soaring from his body grew intense and suddenly escalated to a brand new level. Such an aura was enough to suppress anyone at the scene. Palace Master Wu Luo, number 1 Divine King, the master of real martial art Divine Church were dumbfounded. They were previously upset with Emperor God Tianling's teasing and disdainful treatment earlier. But then, Emperor God Tianling's had his power as a basis. Ha, brother, go all out and kill Jian Wushuang. You must kill him. In the other corner of the battlefield, Emperor God Tian Shao noticed the happenings and immediately laughed wantonly. Emperor God Tianling's face was cold as he stared at Jian Wushuang and walked to him step by step. Jian Wushuang, back then, I wasn't back and you behaved wildly at Soaring Heaven Land and massacred the experts in Soaring Heaven King Palace. Today, I will kill you and wipe out lineage of Star to take revenge on behalf of the people in Soaring Heaven King Palace. You have to die. A cold voice was heard from Emperor God Tianling and he sounded determined. Everyone around the battlefield quivered when they heard him and they didn't dare to be in doubt. Needless to say, Emperor God Tianling really did possess the capability to kill Jian Wushuang and destroy lineage of Star. However, looking at Emperor God Tianling getting closer, the power spreading from Emperor God Tianling's body was getting stronger too. However, Jian Wushuang didn't look fearful at all. Nor did he feel anxious. Emperor God Tianling, you are really strong. I never thought that your power would be this powerful. You're right. Even if Qian Mingzi and I team up, we wouldn't be your match. It's a pity that your opponent isn't me. Jian Wushuang said calmly. Huh? Emperor God Tianling's eyebrows creased. There were people surrounding that looked at Jian Wushuang subconsciously. Emperor God Tianling's opponent wasn't him? Who else? I originally wanted to wait until I had defeated Star Extermination Alliance, then only use this trump card when we fought against Supreme 10 Alliance or Almighty's Alliance. But it seems that it won't work. So. Jian Yi, go. Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated. Chapter 1912 Jian Yi took action. Jian Yi, go. Hearing what Jian Wushuang said, the surrounding crowd was suspicious. Who was Jian Yi? Could Lineage of Star have more hidden experts? The master of real martial arts Divine Church muttered. But then, there was a sudden change which happened in the master of real martial arts Divine Church. There was an evil-looking Taoist-robed elder who appeared behind the master of real martial arts Divine Church. The way he appeared was too fantastical. Although the master of real martial arts Divine Church was a peak emperor god, he didn't notice any difference. The Taoist-robed elderly extended his palm. His palm contained unique magic power and moved closer to the master of real martial arts Divine Church's head, and he was terrified. **T. The master of real martial arts Divine Church's face changed and he struggled to withstand it. However, the palm moved too quickly and too mysteriously. Bang! The palm hit the master of real martial art Divine Church's head directly. A terrifying power spread. The armor on the surface of the master of real martial arts Divine Church was also at the chaotic divine treasure level. It diminished the power of the palm by half at the first instant. The remaining power took effect and shook the master of real martial arts Divine Church's body. It was as though his head was going to explode. Merely with this palm only, he still barely withstood it. However, just as the master of real martial art Divine Church intended to run away, there was suddenly a large cloud of crimson fog that swept out from the Taoist-robed elder. The cloud of crimson fog was like an exotic beast that opened its mouth. Without giving the master of real martial arts Divine Church any time to respond, it engulfed the master of real martial arts Divine Church. The crimson fog spread and no one could see the scenery within the crimson fog. Even soul power couldn't probe through it. In a short instance, in the blink of an eye, the exotic beast that was transformed from crimson fog that had filled the air already dispersed. The energy retreated gradually and revealed the scenery within. The scene made everyone open their eyes wide. Previously, they had seen the sudden appearance of a Taoist-robed elder standing in the void while there was a cold dead body floating in silence next to him. The dead body was the master of real martial art Divine Church. The master of real martial art Divine Church was a peak emperor god. In a short while, he had been killed on the spot. How is it possible? He was a peak emperor god. The people who saw the scene were in disbelief. Especially Palace Master Wu Luo and Number 1 Divine King. The two of them were peak emperor gods as well. Their power wasn't much different to a master of real martial arts Divine Church's, but merely his defense power was slightly stronger. As a peak emperor god, even if his defense power was weak, he wasn't one who could be killed by just anyone. Plus, he had been killed easily without any power to counterattack. Just how strong was the Taoist-robed elder that had suddenly appeared? Just as everyone was shocked and astonished. Swoosh! The Taoist-robed elder moved his body and appeared behind Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he revealed reverence and passion in his eyes. Master, the Taoist-robed elder spoke and he didn't lower his voice. Everyone at the scene heard the way he addressed Jian Wushuang. Master. The Taoist-robed elder who killed the master of real martial art Divine Church with thunderous measure referred to Jian Wushuang as master. Such a terrifying expert is willing to recognize Jian Wushuang as his master. Everyone was shocked. But Palace Master Wu Luo quickly shook his head. It's impossible. Although Jian Wushuang is talented and he has high potential, his power has yet to reach that level after all. The Taoist-robed elder is a terrifying existence that could kill the master of real martial art Divine Church easily. He definitely wouldn't be willing to take him as his master. From my viewpoint, there's an 80% chance that Jian Wushuang controlled him using a special technique, and it is through soul control. Soul control. Once the term was brought up, everyone at the scene quivered in fear. That was definitely a vicious method. Jian Wushuang could soul control such an expert. It fully showed that he was a capable person. Everyone at the scene was shocked when they saw Jian Yi, while Jian Wushuang felt satisfied and secure. Jian, his servant, was definitely loyal to him. And in terms of power, he was from ancient times. His fighting power at his peak had reached the extreme limit of chaotic realm, which was equal to the Great Emperor in eternal chaotic world and the top of the Great Emperor. Such an expert, although he had only recovered to the top of middle stage chaotic realm, his fighting power was still unusually strong. Jian Wushuang knew that Jian-Yi's fighting power was extremely strong, at least much stronger than his. Hence, he had been making Jian-Yi in Lineage of Star constantly recover his power but never let Jian-Yi fight. His goal was to let Jian-Yi suddenly take action during a war like this, to bring about severe damage. In actual fact, Jian Wushuang was rather happy with the results. The master of real martial art Divine Church, a peak emperor god, also the strongest fighting power from Star Extermination Alliance. However, just as Jian-Yi did a surprise attack, he didn't manage to put any skills to play and was killed instantly. At first, I thought, even if Jian-Yi were to take action in silence, he would at most injure a peak emperor god and make him lose fighting power, which would be sufficient for me. Who knew Jian-Yi could kill the master of real martial art Divine Church directly? An expert from ancient times is really impressive, Jian Wushuang muttered. The master of real martial art Divine Church had chaotic divine treasure level armor. Although his personal defense power was the weakest among the peak emperor gods at the scene, it was also extremely difficult to kill him. However, when Jian-Yi took action, he did it with ease. Emperor God Tianling, this is the opponent I found for you. What do you think? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly as he looked at Emperor God Tianling before him. Emperor God Tianling already stopped his footsteps. He was still holding onto his spear but his eyes locked upon Jian-Yi. From Jian-Yi's action, he could tell that Jian-Yi was extremely strong and definitely not any weaker than him. After all, even if he took action, he might not be able to kill the master of real martial arts Divine Church so quickly. Jian Wushuang, I belittled you. I wonder where you found such an expert and how you soul-controlled him, Emperor God Tianling roared coldly. Emperor God Tianling shouldn't be worried about where I found him or how I soul-controlled him. As long as you know that he is your opponent, that will do. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and looked to Jian-Yi. I shall pass you Emperor God Tianling. Yes, Jian-Yi nodded politely. Then, he took a stride and appeared before Emperor God Tianling Virum. There was a fierce aura that soared from Jian-Yi's body. The strength of the aura wasn't any weaker than Emperor God Tianling but slightly stronger. Jian-Yi appeared and Emperor God Tianling felt a strong pressure. Chapter 1913 Secret Skill of Real Dragon. Your name is Jian-Yi, right? Emperor God Tianling stared at Jian-Yi as his gaze gradually burned with fire. At first, I thought among emperor gods in this world, only underworld god was qualified for me to go all out. However, from what it seems now, it isn't so. However, that's better too. After I defeat you, I will go and challenge underworld god. The moment Emperor God Tianling's comment spread, the surrounding crowd was surprised. Challenge underworld god. In eternal chaotic world then, only Emperor God Tianling, who had improved tremendously, had the guts to make such a remark. Virum. A strange aura suddenly soared and there were huge dragon shadows that appeared behind him one after another. Every one of the huge dragon shadows were big in size and they crowded behind him. In one glance, there seemed to be no less than 1,000 of them. Emperor God Tianling stood right in the middle among the thousands of huge dragon shadows, as though he was their ruler. Secret Skill of Real Dragon. When Emperor God Tianling wandered in ancient mystery world, he received an ancient secret skill of Real Dragon. It is said that the secret skill draws support from the power of real dragons in order to increase one's power. The secret skill could only be cultivated and performed by Emperor God Tianling, who once absorbed a drop of real dragon blood essence. The others wouldn't be able to cultivate it even if they obtained the secret skill. It could be described as Emperor God Tianling's strongest secret skill. The last time I saw Emperor God Tianling fight, there were only hundreds of huge dragon shadows when he performed the secret skill of real dragon. Now, he could substantiate over 1,000 of them. Palace Master Wu Luo, number 1 Divine King, Emperor Gods who knew Emperor God Tianling, were surprised. Emperor God Tianling was famous in Eternal Chaotic World, and the secret skill of real dragon that he exclusively possessed was naturally well known by the public as well. Previously, Emperor God Tianling had fought with Qian Mingzi and Jian Wushuang, but he had never performed the secret skill. But then, it was obvious that he felt pressure fighting against Jian Yi. Hence, he went all out and performed the secret skill. Over 1,000 huge dragon shadows substantiated behind Emperor God Tianling, and Emperor God Tianling's face was cold, like he was an emperor high above. He gripped the spear in his hand tightly. Every move he took brought about the power of over 1,000 huge dragon shadows. Fight! A low roar and Emperor God Tianling took action. The spear in his hand stabbed in the void in front of him. Then, the thousands of huge dragon shadows behind him roared simultaneously and shook the earth. Walala! The space broke and there was a whirlpool tunnel. The spear shadow that contained the power of over 1,000 huge dragon shadow went through the whirlpool tunnel and appeared before Jian Yi. That terrifying spear seems to be able to shatter hundreds of millions of rivers and mountains. Wherever that the spear's shadow passed was left barren. Looking at the spear's shadow that plunged over, there was a tinge of chilly gleam in Jian Yi's eyes. His body had yet to move, but his palm slowly extended and pointed at the spear's shadow that was flying over. The moment he pointed, heaven and earth were distinguished. A black light burst out. Although the size of the light wasn't huge, the power that it contained was terrifying. Back in Green Fire World, when Jian Wushuang had fought with Jian Yi, he had also performed the same finger to Jian Wushuang. Although Jian Wushuang had blocked the hit with his all, he had still been injured. Then, Jian Yi's power was much stronger than before. His strength was also much more powerful than before. The power of the point was given full play then. Bang! There was a terrifying bang, and it was as though two worlds had collided ferociously. After the loud bang, 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 there were a few other low explosions. On the black spear shadow, the power of huge dragon shadows dispersed and the black spear quivered. Emperor God Tianling, who was holding the spear, couldn't help but take 3 steps back. Every single step was a tens of millions of miles apart. Every step caused a huge black hole in the boundless galaxy. Huh! Emperor God Tianling creased his eyebrows and there was shock in his eyes. He never thought that he would still have the lower hand when he performed secret skill of real dragon with his all to fight with Jian Yi. Again. Emperor God Tianling's intention to fight increased tremendously. There was no one else in his eyes, there was no other battlefield, only Jian Yi alone. He wanted to fight a battle with Jian Yi and win. Jian Yi moved his body and immediately greeted his attack. The two, who could easily suppress any other peak emperor god and could even be faintly compared to underworld god favorably, were starting a fight in the middle of the battlefield. The terrifying movements that they made shocked the surrounding people and no one dared to go any closer. Looking at the scene, Jian Wushuang revealed a faint smile. Jian Yi's power didn't disappoint him at all. The large amount of resources that he had spent all these years to help Jian Yi recover his power didn't go to vain. Emperor God Tianling was occupied with Jian Yi and he didn't have any bandwidth. As for Lineage of Star, regardless of whether it was Jian Wushuang or Qian Mingzi, they were both free then. Next, Elder Qian, how much fighting power do you have left? Jian Wushuang asked. Qian Mingzi had been severely injured by Emperor God Tianling earlier. 50%, Qian Mingzi replied. 50%? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. In addition to the supporting power of the galaxy formation, that's 70%. That's enough. Elder Qian, there are only two peak emperor gods left in Star Extermination Alliance, which are Palace Master Wu Kuo and Number 1 Divine King. Let's take action together to kill these two. Yes, Qian Mingzi nodded heavily. Die. There was a flash of murderous intention in his eyes and his body instantly burst out. Just as they moved, Jian Wushuang resurfaced his 7 heads and 14 arms again. The 4 Hongjun golden sword quivered and then appeared before Palace Master Wu Luo at the first instant. D***MN. Looking at the 4 Hongjun golden swords plunging at him, Palace Master Wu Luo's face grew grave. Even if it was in the outside world, Jian Wushuang's 4 Hongjun golden sword was enough to suppress him. But then, Jian Wushuang had the support of the galaxy within the galaxy formation. On top of that, Jian Wushuang had not only charged at him with 4 Hongjun golden swords, but he had also charged at him in person. We were suppressed when we fought with him in a team of 3. Now, one-on-one. Palace Master Wu Luo's face grew pale. As for Number 1 Divine King, he was fighting with Qian Mingzi. Qian Mingzi's fighting power was damaged. Hence, it was difficult to have the upper hand when he was fighting with Number 1 Divine King. However, Qian Mingzi didn't have the lower hand either. Number 1 Divine King tried to figure out a way to provide assistance to Palace Master Wu Luo. It was obvious that Palace Master Wu Luo couldn't match evenly with Jian Wushuang alone. Die. Jian Wushuang was soaring with murderous intention. Chapter 1914 Massacre. Bang! 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 There were loud bangs continuously as 4 Hongjun golden swords flew out. Jian Wushuang's close combat skill could explode entirely. Palace Master Wu Luo couldn't fight evenly. He had been suppressed since the beginning of the fierce fight. Such suppression continued for a while. The sword principle that Jian Wushuang had performed hit Palace Master Wu Luo thrice. Although Palace Master Wu Luo's defense power was strong, his body was majorly affected from a direct hit. Irresistible. I couldn't resist Jian Wushuang at all. I will definitely die if this continues. Palace Master Wu Luo was anxious. At the same time, he noticed his surrounding battlefield. On the battlefield, Star Extermination Alliance was already at the brink of collapse. Under the besiegement of Lineage of Stars experts and Dao soldiers in collaboration with the Galaxy Formation, there were more than 20 deaths from the original almost 70 Almighties. On the contrary, the experts and Dao soldiers that Lineage of Star had lost were rather few. The difference in the power of both parties were getting bigger. The experts in Star Extermination Alliance were panicking. Hurry up and figure out a way. Otherwise, we will be doomed. Run, hurry up and run. There's no use trying to run. We are in the galaxy, the trap that Lineage of Star purposely set up. They intentionally let us barge in. If I'm not mistaken, the entrance that we came in from is entirely sealed and we can't escape. There were panic-stricken voices spreading all across the battlefield. The experts in Star Extermination Alliance's eyes were bloodshot. They weren't stupid. The situation in front of them was clear. Star Extermination Alliance was already defeated. They were crushed. They had even lost the power to counterattack. They would only be massacred by Lineage of Star if they continued to stand. At such a crucial moment, they were also trying to figure out a countermeasure. Very soon, they realized that they had no way at all. It was a trap that Lineage of Star set up. As it was a trap, its exit was definitely sealed off. They couldn't escape. The only possibility was for someone to help. For instance, the other two alliances that harbored wicked intentions towards Lineage of Star. D***MN. The space was sealed and our message couldn't be sent out. It is impossible for us to contact the other two alliances. The other two alliances have definitely gathered outside the galaxy, but they didn't know what has happened inside. What to do? What should we do? The two alliances definitely would take action against Lineage of Star. They are only waiting for an opportunity. They wanted to wait until Lineage of Star was almost taken over by a Star Extermination Alliance, only then will they take action. But we here only could hope for the two alliances to come into the galaxy formation soon. Yes, if only. Hold on. Try to hold on until the other two alliances barge in. By then, our danger will be resolved. At the same time, Lineage of Star could be routed. On the battlefield, there was a hubbub. The expert in Star Extermination Alliance already viewed the other two alliances as their life savior. They were trying their best to drag on longer to allow for the two alliances to barge in. Of course, the progress was extremely torturous. There was a large number of experts that were killed by Lineage of Star. The number of Almighties from Star Extermination Alliance was diminishing at a shocking speed. Originally, there were almost 70 Almighties. But then, there was already only 50 left and it continued to decrease. Less than 40, less than 30, it continued to decrease. On the other side, they were outside the galaxy formation, the two alliances who were viewed as life saviors had already gathered there. Supreme 10 Alliance, many Emperor Gods gathered. The two strongest fighting power of Supreme 10 Alliance, also one of the peak Emperor God, Emperor Sword Sect Master said, Star Extermination Alliance has been in the galaxy for quite a while. If I'm not mistaken, the experts in Lineage of Star should be almost gone. Although Lineage of Star was powerful, compared to Star Extermination Alliance, they were far weaker. As long as the formation is broken, they have no power to counterattack. At most, they are fighting back like a cornered beast. They shouldn't be able to last long, another peak Emperor God Wu Yao said. If so, what are we waiting for? Hurry up and attack. The surrounding Emperor Gods were all raging in anger. There was soaring hatred in their eyes. Among the three alliances, Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance harbored great resentment against Lineage of Star. Many harbored deep-seated resentment. They would stop at nothing. Although to let Star Extermination Alliance destroy Lineage of Star and just share a portion from it was a good option, their deep-seated resentment made them want to take action personally. As no one can wait anymore, let's depart. The Emperor Sword Sect looked at everyone and commanded. Immediately, the entire Supreme 10 Alliance were a total of over 10 Almighties. They approached the universe galaxy together. Very soon, the experts of Supreme 10 Alliance had gathered at a corner near the galaxy. The people in Star Extermination Alliance entered from here. The Master of Emperor Sword Sect Master looked at everyone. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance broke a hole here. Now, the hole has recovered, a real god from Emperor Sword Sect reported. Humph. So what if it recovered? As Star Extermination Alliance could break the formation, Supreme 10 Alliance can do the same, the Master of Emperor Sword Sect smiled. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance took action. There were continuous attacks that hit the weakest point of the galaxy one after another. Suddenly, the entire galaxy was shaking vigorously. In the depths of Universe Galaxy, Hall Master Yuan had been hiding there and had constantly created an advantageous situation for experts from Lineage of Star with the galaxy formation. But suddenly, Hong! The entire galaxy suddenly shook. Hall Master Yuan's face changed, we finally can't hold back anymore. Luckily, it's only Supreme 10 Alliance. Hall Master Yuan immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang, who was suppressing Palace Master Wu Luo and had already injured him on the battlefield. Palace Master, Supreme 10 Alliance took action. They are attacking the formation, Hall Master Yuan's voice was cold. Only Supreme 10 Alliance alone. How about Almighty's Alliance? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. The galaxy was fully controlled by Hall Master Yuan. The experts from Star Extermination Alliance couldn't communicate on the battlefield but Jian Wushuang could. Almighty's alliance has yet to take action, Hall Master Yuan said. Very well. Star Extermination Alliance is almost done. As Supreme 10 Alliance is courting death, I shall take care of them all together. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. Let Supreme 10 Alliance in. Chapter 1915 Dumbstruck. Rumble. The formation shook and there was a huge opening right in front of the experts from Supreme 10 Alliance. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance passed through the opening and entered the galaxy as they wished. I hope that lineage of star could hold on a little longer so we can make it in time. Don't worry. It hasn't been long. Lineage of star shouldn't have been wiped out entirely yet. We definitely stand a chance to attack. Hee, I can't wait. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance were chatting casually as they plunged inside the galaxy. Very soon, they arrived at the core region of the galaxy formation, the battlefield. The moment they arrived at the battlefield, they saw the battlefield in front of them. Everyone who had been chatting leisurely immediately grew shocked. The war was ongoing before them. However, the war looked extremely tragic. It was one-sided. It was definitely a one-sided war. Even the word war couldn't describe the situation, it should be called a massacre instead. Looking at the large number of Dao soldiers, along with the experts from Lineage of Star, they constantly swarmed in and besieged the people who were hemmed in. There were continuous murders and the experts from Star Extermination Alliance who were hemmed in were constantly killed. Their numbers were decreasing. By then, there was less than 20 people. Even of those who were alive, they were mostly severely injured. How could it be? Am I dreaming? Shouldn't Lineage of Star be the one who is completely suppressed and massacred, to the point where there is no space to counterattack? How could the situation be the total opposite? Star Extermination Alliance was massacred by Lineage of Star. Dumbstruck. Everyone looked at the battlefield and they were dumbstruck. They had never expected the war to be in such a state. Previously, they hadn't worried about Lineage of Star at all. However, with the situation of the war then, Star Extermination Alliance was obviously defeated and massacred. Supreme 10 Alliance, the people from Supreme 10 Alliance are here. On the battlefield, the remaining experts from Star Extermination Alliance were thrilled with the arrival of Supreme 10 Alliance. There were even people who immediately shouted, Supreme 10 Alliance, hurry up and attack. Wipe out Lineage of Star with us. Hurry up. Otherwise, if Star Extermination Alliance were to be wiped out, Supreme 10 Alliance alone wouldn't be able to do anything about Lineage of Star. Hurry up and help. There were shrill screams along with some roars that reverberated on the battlefield. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance exchanged a look. What do we do? There were gazes that fixed upon the Master of Emperor Sword Sect and Emperor God Wu Yao, the two peak Emperor gods. On the way in, they had been thinking about how to destroy Lineage of Star. When they arrived in the galaxy and saw the sight, it was entirely different from what they had imagined. Hence, their original plan naturally wouldn't work. The Master of Emperor Sword Sect had a cold look. They are right. If Star Extermination Alliance were to be wiped out, Supreme 10 Alliance alone wouldn't be able to do anything to Lineage of Star. Seize the time when Star Extermination Alliance still has some power and Lineage of Star just went through a war. Let's attack immediately. This is our only chance, Emperor God Wu Yao nodded heavily. Die. There was a low roar, then the Master of Emperor Sword Sect and Emperor God Wu Yao took the lead to attack first. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance saw and they didn't hesitate and plunged out to kill too. Supreme 10 Alliance joined the war. Great. Jian Wushuang wasn't angry at the sight but he smiled, everyone, go all out and wipe out Supreme 10 Alliance as well. Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated in the void on the battlefield. The guest elders of Lineage of Star heard and they couldn't help but roar. There was excitement and passion burning in their eyes. Before they fought with Star Extermination Alliance, they were anxious and worried that they couldn't match evenly with Star Extermination Alliance. But who could have known that Star Extermination Alliance had had the lower hand since the very beginning of the war? In the end, they were even being massacred. The guest elders felt reassured, and it gave a boost to their morale and kept them on an unprecedented high. Then, even though Supreme 10 Alliance had arrived, they showed no fear. Plus, Lineage of Star still had strong fighting power. They could totally be fearless to fight against Supreme 10 Alliance. Die! Die! Kill all of them! Haha, it's been a while since I have such a hearty massacre. There were earth-shattering roars resounding in the air. The experts and Dao soldiers from Lineage of Star immediately fought with the people from Supreme 10 Alliance. Among the crowd, Jian Wushuang. There was a sudden angry bellow. Jian Wushuang turned to look at the source of the voice. Just as he saw the person who let out the angry roar, the corner of his lips lifted into a cold smirk. I see. It's the Master of Emperor Sword Sect. I saw through you long ago, Master of Emperor Sword Sect. You harbor a deep-seated grudge. Once Lineage of Star is in danger, you definitely will attack Lineage of Star without hesitation. From what it seems, I'm right. Humph. If you had wiped out Emperor Sword Sect back then, you wouldn't have this scene now. The Master of Emperor Sword Sect humphed. Today will be the day we of Emperor Sword Sect wash away our humiliation. Is that so? We shall see if you are capable enough. Jian Wushuang sneered and moved his willpower. The 4 Hongjun golden swords burst out at the Master of Emperor Sword Sect like lightning. At the same time, Jian Wushuang took a huge stride forward. His 14 arms wielded a sword each, and sword intention swept across and pressed at the Master of Emperor Sword Sect. The Master of Emperor Sword Sect knew that Jian Wushuang was powerful and didn't dare to act recklessly. He immediately gave full play to his swordsmanship to withstand Jian Wushuang's attack. Dang! 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 There were a few ferocious clashes. Merely a few clashes, and in a short time, the Master of Emperor Sword Sect fell back from Jian Wushuang's attack, and he seemed to be in a fix. Jian Wushuang is really strong, the Master of Emperor Sword Sect muttered. Master of Emperor Sword Sect. There was a voice, and Palace Master Wu Luo appeared next to him. Jian Wushuang's power is far beyond us. Earlier, Number 1 Diving King, the Master of Real Martial Art Divine Church, and I teamed up, but we were suppressed by him. It'd be impossible if you want to match evenly with him alone. Only if you and I and Emperor God Wu Yao team up can we fight against him. Palace Master Wu Luo's voice was soft. If one took a closer look, they could see that Palace Master Wu Luo's face was pale, and there was a bloodstain at the corner of his lips. It was obvious that he was forced into a miserable situation when he fought with Jian Wushuang alone. If it wasn't for Supreme 10 Alliance's arrival, he might have been killed by Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1916 3 Alliances are all here. 3 peak Emperor gods teamed up, and you could only match evenly with him. The Master of Emperor Sword Sect was shocked, and his expression grew unusually solemn. Emperor God Wu Yao also appeared next to the Master of Emperor Sword Sect. Emperor God Wu Yao, the 3 of us teamed up to fight with Jian Wushuang, the Master of Emperor Sword Sect said. All right, Emperor God Wu Yao nodded heavily. Suddenly, the 3 peak Emperor gods instantly took action. 3 against 1 again. Ha, come on then, Jian Wushuang was fearless. In an instant, Jian Wushuang got closer to the 3 peak Emperor gods. The experts from Supreme 10 Alliance and Star Extermination Alliance gathered and fought with the experts from Lineage of Star fiercely. Both parties were in a fierce fight. In a short time, it would be unrealistic to call victory or defeat. However, just as both parties were fighting fiercely, Hong! There was a terrifying explosion from afar. The entire universe galaxy was shaking vigorously. It was trembling in balance. *T, Hall Master Yuan, who was hiding in the depths of the galaxy, suddenly grew solemn, and he instantly sent Jian Wushuang a message about what he saw on the outside of the galaxy. Palace Master, Almighty's alliance is attacking too. Hall Master Yuan sounded anxious. Almighty's alliance? Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated. Among the three alliances who eyed Lineage of Star, the strongest was Almighty's alliance. However, Almighty's alliance and Lineage of Star shared no resentment. They were merely coming after the secret skill of Star Palace. Hence, they weren't harboring strong murderous intentions against Lineage of Star. Previously, Emperor God Xiao Luo visited with his consciousness embodiment and declared their terms and condition with Lineage of Star, but Lineage of Star never replied. In actual fact, Lineage of Star had made a decision long ago. The reason why they didn't reply was merely to steady the Almighty's alliance didn't manage to hold back but started to attack at such a crucial moment. We are almost done with Star Extermination Alliance. In addition to Supreme 10 Alliance, Lineage of Star could deal with them. Plus, we have the support of the formation, we have at least a 60% chance of winning. However, if Almighty's alliance were to join in. Jian Wushuang's face grew grave. The experts from the two alliances felt the surrounding galaxy quiver. They could guess the reason of the quiver. It's Almighty's alliance. Almighty's alliance took action. Almighty's alliance finally couldn't hold back anymore. Lineage of Star is too powerful. Even if our two alliances team up, we might not stand an absolute chance to win. However, although Almighty's alliance doesn't hold a grudge against Lineage Go Star, they are here for the secret skill of Star Palace after all. To get the secret skill, they have to stand by our side. Hurry up, let's attack the formation as well to work together with Almighty's alliance so that they can enter. The two alliances immediately made a decision. Very soon, the experts from both campsites attacked the galaxy formation. *T. Hall Master Yuan's face was cold. With Almighty's alliance attacking outside, there is already great pressure. Now that the experts from both alliances are attacking from the inside, the galaxy has yet to recover from major damage after all. Palace Master, I can't hold on any longer. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang, who was fighting with the three peak Emperor gods, received Hall Master Yuan's message and his face grew solemn. He knew that Hall Master Yuan had already done his best. As you can't hold back, let the experts from Almighty's alliance come in, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Let them come in. Hall Master Yuan stunned, and there was another terrifying hit on the galaxy formation before he could react. There was a really huge opening on the vast galaxy formation. The experts from Almighty's alliance immediately swarmed in. With their traveling speed, they arrived at the border of the battlefield in a really short period of time. The experts from Alimgi's alliance were also shocked, and they saw the situation of the battlefield in front of them. Especially when they saw Emperor God Tianling and Jian Yi fighting in one of the corners of the battlefield. The two terrifying fighting powers swept out wantonly in the galaxy. The power that was displayed could even strike fear into a peak Emperor God. There was no one who dared to get close within a 100 million mile range of the battle between the two. Star Extermination Alliance, Supreme 10 Alliance has already attacked, and they are only evenly matched with Lineage of Star. Lineage of Star is terrifyingly powerful. There were many experts from Almighty's alliance who were exclaiming in surprise. Just then, Hall Master Yuan, send me to the experts from Almighty's alliance, Jian Wushuang commanded. Yes, Hall Master Yuan nodded. There was immediately a space wormhole that appeared from nowhere behind Jian Wushuang. He immediately gave up the fight with the three peak Emperor gods in front of him and leapt into the space wormhole. There was a flash of light, and when it reappeared, Jian Wushuang had already come before the experts from Almighty's alliance. As the strongest alliance among all three alliances, the experts from Almighty's alliance were gloating in the galaxy but had yet to join the war. The Almighties were looking at the figure that had suddenly substantiated in front of them. The figure was naturally Jian Wushuang. Lineage of Star has so many Dao soldiers and you have fighting power that isn't second to any alliances, but you have been showing the white feather. Even when Star Extermination Alliance stood outside the galaxy to humiliate you verbally, you didn't respond at all. Only now, you finally took action for real. Sword Emperor, you are really wise in fighting. Emperor God Xiao Luo from Almighty's Alliance spoke with a low voice, but it spread out in the universe. This time, if we Almighty's Alliance were to be any slower, I'm afraid Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance would have been wiped out at Lineage of Star's hands, right? Since Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance came to wipe out Lineage of Star, we naturally won't hold back. If there's an opportunity, we of course would like to wipe out the two alliances. On the contrary, Almighty's Alliance shares no resentment with Lineage of Star. I wonder if everyone could consider Lineage of Star, leave and not get involved in this. When this is resolved, Lineage of Star will definitely express their heartfelt gratitude with abundant gifts, Jian Wushuang said humbly. You want us to just leave? Palace Master Xiao Luo sneered, Sword Emperor, I brought up the terms and conditions with you before. As long as Lineage of Star is willing to hand out the inheritance of the secret skill of Star Palace, we of Almighty's Alliance naturally will back off and not interfere with Lineage of Star at all. As for the existence of the other two alliances, it has nothing to do with us. Alright, I can promise to let all of you receive the inheritance of the secret skill of Star Palace, but I'd like to have all of you leave for now, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Hearing what Jian Wushuang had said, the experts from Almighty's Alliance were surprised. Chapter 1917 Fighting Alone. Agreed. Jian Wushuang had agreed to pass them the inheritance of the secret skill of Star Palace. But the question was whether he really agreed, or was he just putting them off. Sword Emperor, merely a verbal agreement, it's useless. You could totally change your mind after this, Emperor God Xiao Luo said in a low voice. By then, you will have already taken care of the two alliances. Against Almighty's Alliance alone, Lineage of Star could totally be fearless. We of Almighty's Alliance could do nothing about you. So, what do you want? Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. Very simple. I want you to pass us the inheritance of the secret skill of Star Palace now. Before this, I will ask Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance to stop. Until you pass us the secret skill of Star Palace and we left, you can continue to fight. What do you think? Emperor God Xiao Luo said. That's a great idea, but it's a pity that Almighty's Alliance thought it too well. Jian Wushuang smirked and lifted his head to look at the expert of the Almighty's Alliance. His gaze was extremely cold. In his hand, Blood Mountain sword quivered and the blade shot at Almighty's Alliance directly. Listen, either Almighty's Alliance leave now or stay back entirely. The cold voice was heard from Jian Wushuang and it resounded through the entire galaxy. Listening to what Jian Wushuang said, even the experts from Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance had their eyes wide open and looked at Jian Wushuang in shock. What is he trying to do? If Almighty's Alliance doesn't leave, he will make Almighty's Alliance stay back entirely. Where did his courage come from? Almighty's Alliance is the strongest among the three alliances. The number of Almighties are more than 100 of them. Ha! Jian Wushuang is courting death. Almighty's Alliance, over 100 Almighties, their faces grew cold after hearing what Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang, aren't you too courageous? Emperor God Xiao Luo grew grave. Emperor God Xiao Luo, as he is courting death, let's fulfill his death wish. Let's attack. There was an Emperor God who said that next to him. Yes, with the Almighty's power, in collaboration with Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance, we can totally wipe out Lineage of Star. By then, the secret skill of Star Palace will still be ours. Let's attack. The experts from Almighty's Alliance complimented. There was a flash of decisiveness in Emperor God Xiao Luo's eyes too. He had already made up his mind. It's absolutely impossible for us to just leave like this, Emperor God Xiao Luo's loud and bright voice resounded across the battlefield. This is your decision. Jian Wushuang's face was cold as he glared at the experts from Almighty's alliance. If so, don't blame me. The people from Almighty's alliance have to die today. All have to die. The remark instantly stirred an unprecedented commotion in the entire galaxy. Everyone heard and they were terrified. They couldn't understand how was Jian Wushuang courageous enough to make such a remark in a situation like that. Would Lineage of Star still have any other impressive trump card? Just as everyone was confused, Jian Wushuang took a step forward slowly and walked in front of Almighty's alliance. What is he trying to do? No one knew what was happening when they saw the scene. It seems that he wants to match evenly with the entire Almighty's alliance with his power alone. Is he joking? Fighting alone? Idiot. He thinks he is a great emperor. Or he thinks he was master of Star Palace back then. Everyone was exclaiming in surprise. However, Jian Wushuang didn't stop his footsteps but got closer to Almighty's alliance gradually. Almighty's alliance had a total of more than 100 Almighties. There were over 100 pairs of eyes that watched Jian Wushuang's arrival. Although he did come alone, he struck fear into the Almighties when he walked to them with billowing aura. They even got their alert up subconsciously. Would Jian Wushuang really have any other trump card? Emperor God Xiao Luo started thinking about the possibility as well. Just then, Jian Wushuang stopped moving. About 10,000 miles away from the experts from Almighty's alliance, Jian Wushuang stopped in the void. His eyes were cold without any emotion and he glanced at the experts from Almighty's alliance. He clenched Blood Mountain's sword tight in his hands and the sword was quivering vigorously. Rumble. A terrifying sword intention swept out. The sword intention was supreme. It was like the reigning emperor of heaven and earth. Every living thing before it had to yield. That was the sword intention that an emperor, a monarch possessed. Jian Wushuang then was like the highest ruler in the universe. The entire heaven and earth, the entire universe, all living things should yield to him. The sword intention was too supernatural. This is, the master of Emperor Sword sect from Supreme Ten Alliance stared at Jian Wushuang with his eyes wide opened. To be exact, he was staring at the sword intention that was soaring from Jian Wushuang's body. As the master of Emperor Sword sect, he was naturally familiar with the sword intention of the Supreme Emperor. At the same time, he also realized the sword principle that Jian Wushuang was going to perform. Emperor Sword Principle. This is Emperor Sword sect's strongest Emperor Sword Principle. D*MN it. As expected, Jian Wushuang has comprehended Emperor Sword Principle and he already mastered it and is able to perform it. The master of Emperor Sword sect roared. Emperor Sword Principle. The experts on the scene were surprised. Legend said that Emperor Sword sect's Emperor Sword Principle was from one of the superb experts from the First Era, Sword Emperor Dugu. Sword Emperor Dugu seemed to have gotten the Sword Principle from ancient times too. Because of the Sword Principle, Sword Emperor Dugu was able to remain in the top 3 among the experts in the First Era. The power of the Sword Principle was extraordinary. However, it was obviously impossible to match evenly with over 100 Sir Gods and Emperor Gods from Almighty's alliance with merely Emperor Sword Principle alone. Jian Wushuang's face was cold and Blood Mountain sword was raised high. Just like an emperor who raised the sword of emperor. Once it slashed, there would be thousands of heads being chopped. There was a terrifying imposing sword aura that concentrated in the universe. Just as the sword aura was going to be activated, there was boundless power of star that instantly swept out from Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's strongest trump card, the 3rd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace was triggered. Jian Wushuang's bloodshot eyes revealed boundless murderous intention. All of you share no resentment with Lineage of Star. But, too bad, you're too greedy. You shouldn't have cast greedy eyes over the secret skill of Star Palace, nor should you have cornered Lineage of Star. Now, for lineage of star, all of you, have to die. Chapter 1918 The Power of One Stroke. All of you, die. What Jian Wushuang said shook heaven and earth like sacred lightning from the highest heaven. His voice reverberated in everyone's ears. Whoever heard him revealed a terrified expression and they were roaring in their hearts. After Jian Wushuang said that, he raised the emperor's sword high in the sky and suddenly slashed. Guang! There was a terrifying sword light that was instantly magnified and engulfed tens of thousands of miles. The sword light was shimmering in gold and extremely eye-catching. The experts from Almighty's alliance were engulfed in the sword light then. At the same time, the experts from Almighty's alliance suddenly showed an unprecedented fear across their faces. Terrified. Yes, they were terrified. Previously, they didn't care much about sword principle that Jian Wushuang performed. They thought no matter how strong Jian Wushuang's emperor's sword principle was, it wouldn't be able to shake more than 100 almighties. However, then, when the sword light swung out, they could feel the power of the stroke at the first instance. Emperor's sword principle was the strongest sword principle from ancient times. Although the sword principle was only the first move, its power was still earth-shattering. With Jian Wushuang power, although the power of the stroke that was performed with his all couldn't be compared to a great emperor's, it was extremely close to one. At least, Emperor God Tianling's full force hit wouldn't be comparable to a sword principle of such power. The sword principle wasn't the most crucial part. The most crucial part was when Jian Wushuang performed the sword principle, he cast the secret skill of Star Palace as well. The third volume of Secret Skill of Star Palace, his strongest trump card, would instantly increase the power of the stroke by 1,000 times. It was originally a stroke that was extremely close to the power of a great emperor and it was then instantly increased by 1,000 times. Just how high of a level had it reached? Many years ago, the Master of Star Palace killed many with the second volume of Secret Skill of Star Palace. Many major forces and experts were terrified. As long as the Master of Star Palace was alive, there were no experts who dared to cast greedy eyes over lineage of Star. And I, in terms of power, am much stronger than the Master of Star Palace and the secret skill of Star Palace that I was performing was the third volume. It could increase the power by 1,000 times. Even though it is just one stroke, the one stroke is enough to wipe out everything. There was light that burst out of Jian Wushuang's eyes. The power of Emperor's sword principle that he had performed with full force exploded. The power of the sword principle exploded and instantly engulfed the entire galaxy. The region of Almighty's alliance was engulfed by the power of the sword principle entirely. Heaven and earth were silent. In that region, there were only noises of sword light sweeping across and destroying everything. As for Almighty's alliance, there were experts groaning and screaming in pain, but the noises that the sword light made covered everything. In the surrounding region, the guest elders from Lineage of Star, the remaining experts from Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance, including Emperor God Tianling who was in a fierce fight far from Jian Yi, looked over. Their gazes were filled with shock and fear, an unprecedented scruple. The stroke was a stroke that made everyone at the scene feel hopeless. It was the strongest stroke that some of them had ever seen. Before the power of the stroke, a great emperor was nothing. Rumble. The sky shattered and the earth split. In the galaxy, there were huge space whirlpools that appeared in the sky from nowhere and they were swallowing up everything. The entire galaxy was quivering vigorously. The galaxy formation was shattering to pieces and finally collapsed. The formation collapsed. Hall Master Yuan, who was hiding in the depths of the galaxy, felt helpless at the sight. The galaxy formation was extremely powerful. Unless a great emperor come personally, no one could break it. For instance, he purposely let Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme Ten Alliance in. Almighty's alliance and the other two alliances worked together and only broke an opening at the formation. But it was only an opening and the opening could be recovered very easily. But then, Hall Master Yuan never expected that the three alliances would team up but had never got to break the galaxy formation. However, the current palace master of Lineage of Star, Jian Wushuang, had broken it with the repercussion of the stroke he had performed earlier. Yes, only the repercussion. Jian Wushuang's stroke was terrifying. Everyone at the scene was curious too. With such a terrifying stroke, how did Almighty's alliance do? One should know that the repercussions of the stroke broke the galaxy formation while its main power was covering the experts from Almighty's alliance. Vroom vroom vroom. Boundless power exploded. The explosions of the sword light's power continued for a few breaths' time. Finally, the power subsided gradually. However, after everyone saw the region that was engulfed in the sword light earlier, the universe became pitch quiet. Dead silence. It was dead silent. There was no sound, only angry roars and groans. Everyone stared at the void that the sword light covered earlier in fear. The void was where the experts from Almighty's alliance originally gathered. There were more than 100 Almighties and all of them were powerful. But then, they were gone. The entire void shattered entirely, but there was no trace. It was pitch black without any light. Similarly, in the darkness, the scene where all experts towered in the void was long gone. There weren't any corpses, nor blood that filled the air. All gone. The void was gone along with Almighty's alliances over 100 experts. They were all gone. No, not entirely. At least there was one who survived. The person was Emperor God Xiao Luo. But Emperor God Xiao Luo then didn't look like an Emperor God expert at all. His hair was messy and his face was pale. He was covered in blood like a bloody man, and the chaotic divine treasure level armor that was on the surface of his body let out a crisp sound and there were cracks on it. It was a chaotic divine treasure. A chaotic divine treasure level armor was hard to damage even if a great emperor launched a full hit, but then, it was damaged. Demon. You are a demon. Emperor God Xiao Luo looked terrified as he stared at Jian Wushuang as though he was looking at a monster while his body shivered vigorously. The surrounding experts from Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance couldn't contain the fear in their hearts anymore. Is he human? Demon, he's a demon. My goodness, we are fighting against a demon. The experts from the two alliances, including some emperor gods, were screaming in despair. They were terrified. It was an alliance formed by over 100 Almighties. They were extremely strong. However, Jian Wushuang had only performed one stroke. With one stroke, the powerful Almighty's alliance then vanished into thin air. Chapter 1919 Another Incident. Almighty's alliance was gone. The large amount of experts vanished into thin air under Jian Wushuang's one stroke. Only Emperor God Xiao Luo barely survived under the sweep of sword light due to his strong power and strong defense. However, it was pushing his limits. Swoosh. 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 There were 4 resplendent golden lights that burst out simultaneously. Emperor God Xiao Lui's eyes were wide open, but he couldn't counterattack at all. The golden light pierced his head directly. Emperor God Xiao Luo was killed on the spot. Then, all experts from Almighty's alliance were all dead. The scene struck fear in all experts from Star Extermination Alliance and Supreme 10 Alliance. Almighty's alliance is gone and you're next. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold and he glanced at the experts from the other 2 alliances. They understood Jian Wushuang's cold gaze, and the experts from the other 2 alliances lost all will to withstand him. Run! Hurry up and run! The demons are coming for us. The experts from the 2 alliances were terrified by Jian Wushuang's terrifying stroke. Their pride as Almighties was then non-existent. At that very moment, they weren't experts who were high and mighty. They were merely commoners, or not even commoners, but non-entities. What they wanted to do then was survive. They only wanted to survive. As for their resentment or the secret skill of Star Palace, they couldn't be bothered about it then. They didn't dare to even think about it. They were dumbstruck by Jian Wushuang's stroke. Although there were still people who were rational in the two alliances, they knew that Jian Wushuang had performed the secret skill of Star Palace earlier that heightened the power of the stroke to that level. In a short period of time, he definitely couldn't perform another stroke. They themselves knew that, but they couldn't stop the other experts who were terrified. "Come back, hurry up and come back!" Palace Master Wu Luo roared. "Calm down. We still have fighting power." The Master of Emperor Sword Sect roared too. Emperor God Wu Yao and No. 1 Divine King also wanted to turn the situation around. But it was useless. The experts who were terrified already couldn't hear what they were saying. They felt devastated and they were defeated. Then, if there were to be an only option to turn the situation around, it'd be someone's arrival to kill Jian Wushuang on the spot. As long as Jian Wushuang died, the experts could calm down and continue to fight. But the crucial question was who could kill Jian Wushuang among the two alliances. Emperor God Tianling. He was occupied by Jian Yi. On top of that, since the beginning of the fight, Jian Yi had performed countless techniques and skills. In terms of power, Jian Yi was finally stronger than him. With Jian Yi around, he didn't have any chance to attack. As for the others, it was impossible for them to kill Jian Wushuang. "Lost, we've lost," Palace Master Wu Luo muttered. Although he wasn't willing to admit it, he knew that they'd lost. With 3 alliances, the fighting power of a total of over 200 almighties suffered a crushing defeat by Lineage of Star. Under Jian Wushuang's shocking stroke, they were terrified. They were heavily defeated in the war. They were in a fix. "Let's leave too. If we don't go now, our lives will be threatened." Emperor God Wu Yao and the Master of Emperor Sword Sect stood side by side as they sighed. Without hesitation, the few peak Emperor gods started running too. The two alliances were defeated. "Ha, everyone, kill them." The guest elders from Lineage of Stars started chasing after them under the lead of Emperor God Jiao Yin. Although they found it hard to calm themselves down, they knew that Jian Wushuang was on their side. With such an amazing existence, they felt even more confident. "Kill! Die!" The guest elders roared madly. Before the war started, they never thought that Lineage of Star could defeat all 3 alliances alone. They had never expected it, nor had they imagined it. But then, it became reality. The experts from the other 2 alliances were fleeing while Lineage of Star chased them out. As both parties shuttled to and fro in the galaxy, they arrived at the border of the galaxy very soon. The galaxy formation collapsed when Jian Wushuang gave full play to his Emperor Sword principle. It couldn't recover in a short period of time. Hence, the experts from the 2 alliances had a chance to escape. If that weren't so, Hall Master Yuan could totally take control of the galaxy formation and make all the experts from the 2 alliances stay back. But then, he could only watch as the experts from the 2 alliances ran outside the galaxy. However, just as Lineage of Star intended to continue to chase after them, in an ordinary void outside the galaxy, there was a figure in a black robe standing there in silence. He was covered by the black robe and his appearance was unclear. The surrounding void was also filled with boundless darkness. Jian Wushuang is really capable. He could kill all 100 of experts from Almighty's alliance with one stroke. The black-robed figure muttered. The sword principle he performed just now was Emperor Sword Principle. However, when he performed Emperor Sword Principle, he also played the secret skill of Star Palace. Looking at the power exploded from the Sword Principle, he should have successfully cultivated the 3rd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace. The 3rd volume increases power by 1,000 times. The black-robed figure couldn't help but clench his fist. The secret skill of Star Palace was very scary. Because it was scary, The experts in Eternal Chaotic World, including some great emperors, were tempted by the secret skill. Then, Jian Wushuang gave full play to the true scariness of the secret skill of Star Palace through the terrifying stroke earlier. That earlier stroke already reached the limit of a great emperor. Among the great emperors in Eternal Chaotic World, besides Emperor Bai, there shouldn't be anyone else who could give play to the similar power. Even I can't do it, the figure in a black robe muttered to himself. Through his remark, he affirmed the secret skill of Star Palace. Such a powerful secret skill fell into Lineage of Stars' hands. It is too wasteful. Let me carry on and promote this secret skill. Just as he spoke, the black-robed figure had already moved forward in the void. In the void outside the galaxy, the chase continued. The two alliances had already paid an extremely heavy price during the chase. However, Lineage of Star did not intend to let them go. But suddenly, rumble. There was boundless darkness that suddenly flowed out. The entire universe instantly drowned in boundless darkness, like abysmal Acheron. At the very core of the boundless darkness, a black-robed figure slowly stepped out. Looking at the newcomer, everyone was shocked and there was fear in their eyes. Jian Wushuang's eyes also dilated in shock. Abysmal Saint Master. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.